哇 Hey, much love and respect. Pura vida, mi gente. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you guys being here. Shout out to everybody in the live chat. All right. We're on episode 30, Genealogical Stories. I was messing around with Alex Haley's genealogy, right? I've been already planning to do it for the longest time. I just hadn't got to it, but just started messing around with it in between my editing and research of other videos. And today I was just like, let's just finish it live. Let's just do it live. And I also want to read an article to you that's been written about it as well. So I was like, let's just go live, do it together. If you don't mind, guys, I appreciate you guys being here. Make sure to like and share. Let me know if for some reason the quality is bad, because on my end, I'm getting YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming, as such viewers will experience blah, 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 blah. And I don't know. It's like I said, it's poor quality, but hopefully you guys can see everything. All right. Let's just test it out real quick. Wow. Thanks for being here. All right. You guys can see that, right? The playlist. Genealogical stories. Right. So we're going to do episode 30 today. We've done, a lot of different people, celebrities, historical people, mythical, whatever, biblical. And, we've done a lot of people, as you guys can see. James Brown, Keanu Reeves, Beyonce, yeah, Chris Brown, Thomas, Silas Jefferson, P. Diddy, Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali. Yeah, we keep going. We're going to take a look at the family tree of Alex Haley, see what we find. Is it true that he's just an African? Well, we've already kind of debunked his whole root story. We're going to go over that again as well. I think it's due time again. Might as well, since we're doing the genealogy. I appreciate again you guys being here. All right. Just 1 second. I'm just gonna go ahead and get his I'm pulling up his tree right now that I was working on. Okay. All right. All right. So real quick, I'm gonna find out he's an Indian. Well, yeah, I mean, check this out, Tony. Hey, Tony, hey, what's going on, Tony? Check this out, Tony. I'm gonna say this. I mean, I'm very sure that in general, all so-called Black Americans have Indian heritage and Black European heritage as well. So depending on how much blood you carry individually of each side, it depends on you. So, I mean, that wouldn't be a surprise to me, Tony. That wouldn't be a surprise to me. I mean, I base my conclusions too on what I know also of certain families and the areas they're in and the time periods of what tribe they might be related to. So I don't doubt that. So, real quick, Alex Haley, right? Like, I mean, basically, you guys can just Google, Ancestry. You'll get pretty much up to his grandparents, at least, on most websites. That's literally a picture of him very young. Yeah. He was born in Ithaca, New York, 11th of August, 1921. Passed away in the 90s, right? 1992 in Seattle, Washington. So again, as you guys can see, there's another picture of him, a little younger, in the military. right? You guys can see a lot of people kind of know the parents and some of the genealogy. I mean, he's a famous person, and because he did roots, so people try to go into his roots, and you already know. Because of that, people were able to find out certain things and see how he was. Says a lot of his info was actually not true or not proven, right? So again, well, we'll go over all this stuff, right? Yeah, we'll go over all this stuff. Okay, hold on. Okay. So again, appreciate you guys coming through. All right, so basically this is his parents. We got his dad, Simon Alexander Haley, born in Hardin, Tennessee, 1892. Passed away 73, in Arkansas, right? We got his parents. So what do I have to prove that? You know, we got some sources here. You know, this is what I don't just go off like what the websites are saying. You know, I try to verify too, and you guys know. So, I mean, here's his dad at 8 years old, right? With Alec, his dad, and Queen Jackson, Alec and Queen. They have, you know, there's a whole book he wrote before he supposedly he finished before. I mean, he didn't finish it, you know, and then he passed away, but it was still published supposedly by somebody else, and it was named Queen, and that's on his ancestor, Queen Esther Seabrook Jackson Davy. Yeah. So let's see which one we have. 7. Simon Alexander. This is Alex Haley's, let's see, 1950. He's 27. He's already living on his own. All right. But those are definitely his parents. We got 3 hints here more for Alex Haley. A parade for him. Tell him we're debunking his whole roots thing again and showing his true genealogy. So that's his parents, Alexander Alec Haley, right? Born in 1845 in Lauderdale County, Alabama. Alec. Passed away in 1918, Savannah, Hardin, Tennessee. And his Alex's grandma, his paternal side, you know, Queen Jackson, Lauderdale County, born in 1858, passed away in Colbert, Alabama, 43. Yeah. Hey, Jacob, let him know, though. Come on, man. Put the video on blast. Put it on a projector and stuff. Yeah. So then we got Alex's mom, Bertha Palmer. Bertha George Palmer, born 1897 in Hannon, Lauderdale County, Tennessee. Passed away February 1932, Madison County, Alabama. Bertha George Palmer. And we got her parents as William Edward Palmer and Cynthia Leah Babica Murray. And they're from Alamance, North Carolina. That's where she was born. She passed away in Lauderdale, Tennessee. William, born in Tennessee, passed away in Lauderdale County, Tennessee. So you can kind of see where his people are. You know, we're getting just a little review of you know, his very close relatives. All right, before we get a little further back. And again, just going into people's profiles, you see that there is, you know, sources here. You know, 1920, for example, census, Will is 47. And Cynthia's right here. And here's Bertha, the daughter, right? Here's Bertha with her parents at 22. Okay? That's his mom. And that's his grandparents, Alex Haley's, on his maternal side, right? So the whole root story, guys, if you don't know, is literally on just his maternal side. On one line of his maternal side, right? So, you know, even on your dad's side and your mom's side, you have many lines, guys. Many lines, okay? Not just one. Either way. So it's funny how, oh, you try to connect one line to an African. Right? And again, what happened to your dad's side? You see what his dad, let's go look at the pictures. for his dad, Simon Alexander. All right. You see that? Simon Alexander. And then let's go look at his grandfather, Alexander Alec Haley. Okay. You see that? So Las Lauderdale, Alabama, he was born, right? So little story about him. I think I was reading. Yeah. Hold on, is this what I was? Yeah, check it out. So it says here, reclaiming king, Alex Haley and his wife Queen. So we're talking about the original Alex Haley. That's talking about his grandfather, right? That's his granddad. That's where he got the name from, guys. Okay. Let me just zoom in a little bit. So it says, We Trees Weekly Genealogy asks us to visit the graves of local celebrities and talk about their lives. I'll profile a celebrity not in my local area, but in the local area I am researching. My maternal ancestors are from rural southwestern county in Tennessee called Harding County that most folks haven't heard of unless they're from there or have been following my post. Harding County's largest city and county seat in Savannah. Many of my family members lived in a suburb called Hooker's Bend, which is fodder enough for another post. Alex Haley, the author of Roots, is Savannah's biggest celebrity, and he plays a prominent role in the tourist brochures for the area. Alex Haley's roots in Hardin. Alex Haley grew up in Hannon, Tennessee, which is actually several counties over in Lauderdale County, but Alex's grandparents were prominent and well-known in Savannah citizens from the end of the 19th century through the early 20th century. They were Alec and Alex Haley and his wife Queen. They're also stated with utter pride, in my family. His name is written in records both ways, but I will call him Alec in the post to differentiate between him and his grandson. Okay, so that's how we're going to do it. We're going to call him Alec. The Holt family is one of my Hardin County lines, and they intermarried with Haley's in two places. My great aunt, Madelina Holt, married Abner Haley. Abner was one of Alex and Queen's sons. Their son was Simon, was Alec Haley's father. Another Holt ancestor, John Holt, married Julia Haley, who was the daughter of Abner Haley. I discovered our connection to the Haleys when I started my research. My grandfather, Luther Holt, knew all of these cousins. Alec and his wife, Queen, because they were a fascinating couple. Alec was well known by everyone in the 19th century Hardin County because he operated the ferry. His ferry took people across the Tennessee River to the city of Savannah, where the courthouse was. All right, you guys hear that? His grandfather had his own ferry. Can you guys, we're talking about, this is probably a picture of that ferry. Look at that. We're talking about ferry for the horse and carriages, right? A typical ferry, it says. One year, Alex saved a white woman who almost drowned when she fell into the water. This story was recounted in the newspaper, and Alec was firmly fixed in the community as a highly regarded man. Okay? And then it goes on to the Cherries family. The Cherries were one of the wealthiest families in Hardin County from the early mid-1800s. They owned what came to be known as the Cherry Mansion. The Cherry Mansion sits right on the side of the Tennessee River and was where Alec Haley's ferry picked up passengers to go cross the river. His wife, Queen, about whom Alex Haley's later book was about. So remember, he wrote a book named Queen that he never published. It was published after he passed away. Worked in the Cherry Mansion. Their house was about 100 yards from the Cherry Mansion. The Cherry Mansion was so grand, General Grant stayed there before and during the Battle of Shiloh. Its owner, William Cherry, was a prominent merchant and unionist. Merchant? Who's the merchants? Cherry. Yeah, that's a nice little place, right? So it says, when Roots and Queen made Alex Haley famous, there was a rush of visitors to Savannah, and people sought out the elderly to ask them their memories of the couple. They created a rich record in addition to the book written by Alex. All right. So again, we're about to see what's up with that again. All right, that book. Memories of Alec and Queen. People got baptized down at a river. Listen, elephants swam across the river when the circus came to town. Wow, we just talked about that yesterday, guys, right? These traveling circuses trying to make people think that's what the world was like. Like, oh, look, like we had black folks playing Hindu people, African people. We know how to dodge the hijack, but check it out. They're even mentioning that in those times, elephants swam across the river when the circus came to town. The town was unpaved and turned virtually to mud when it rained. Alex was described as a hardworking, smart, honest man who didn't like no feisty kids. Alabama-born Queen was a petite woman who said a white man named Captain Jackson was her father. She said that? Queen's mental spells were the stuff of the legend, and everyone knew of her time spent in the mental hospital at Bolivar. Oh, so she ended up in a mental hospital, huh? Like these asylums, right? These asylums during the reset, during the World's Fairs and everything. Huh. What are they doing to her? What happened? She really said that? The white man? Her spells made an indelible impression on everybody. One elder claims Miss Queen had fits, but she told us she acted that way to get what she wanted. Others agreed about how smart she was and how they loved to hear her witty sayings. Queen's spectacular way with gardening was noted. She was crazy about flowers and her yard was beautiful. She had elephant ear plants all over the place. Stories like these are the kind I live for in genealogy. All right. So then she talks about her life right there, The Kunta Kinte, all right. See, this is what I'm saying. We're going to dodge that hijack, all right? Just want to read that a little bit. So we're talking about Alec, right? He had his own ferry. In 1910, what's this? Okay, hold on. 1900, Alec Haley, there we go. Savannah Harding, Queen. There goes Simon. That's Alex Haley's dad, Simon Alexander. He was 8 years old. Okay. Just wanted you guys to see there's real records of the people here. So Alexander Haley says Faustini, but it's Queenie. They couldn't read the writing. Some death indexes, Alex. Right? So you guys can see this is kind of where we get the info to verify. Don't just go off what people are saying, right away, like just because people are saying. We gotta, because a lot of the time it's a lot of, yeah, it's things you gotta question. So right here, so there's a little controversy when it comes to Alec too, right? So what did we get for his dad? We got William Hartwell Ball. Right? And it seems that Haley must be coming from his mom. Check it out. Okay. Oh, yeah, Sabrina. Yeah, Sabrina Mullins Haley. And then we still got to build this. So this is why we are doing this live. This later part, guys, we're doing it live. I wanted to wait. I was just doing this, yesterday and today. And I wanted to do all this with you. Okay. So I know that on his paternal side, let me just read here. So this is BBC News. Roots author had Scottish blood. DNA testing has revealed Roots author Alex Haley was descended from a Scotman. Body bag for the illusion. Shout out to Drop, yo. Yeah. I thought he was African, man. I thought he was from Gambia or whatever. Wow. Researchers found his nephew is distantly related to a woman from South Wales who had traced her lineage back to the 17th century Scotland. Haley's best-selling novel told how his mother was descended from an African man kidnapped into slavery. Wow. The DNA evidence supports anecdotes that another ancestor was a white man working on a slave plantation. The author's nephew, Chris Haley, provided a cheek swab for a new DNA testing service offered by Genealogy website. Distant cousins. The sample revealed he was related to John Bath Black, look at that, Bath Black, who had submitted a DNA sample taken from her father. The distant cousins were introduced to one another at a Who Do You Think You Are event in London on Saturday. In London, Alex Haley achieved international acclaim with his 96 novel Roots, a saga of an American family, loosely based on his family history. Loosely. Very, very loosely. The central character was Kunta Kinte, who's a made-up character, guys. We're about to break that. You'll see. In another novel, Queen, he relied on oral history to trace another family line back to William Bow, an overseer of an Alabama slave plantation. So that's who we're about to get to, right? Alex Haley died in 92 without having established any independent corroboration for the account. He passed away without ever proving any of this stuff, guys. Jacob, it's a whole lie, bro. I'm about to show you, bro. You in the cook-up for real, bro? Like, Jacob, come on, bro. Olivia Van Kelster, managing director of Westside Ancestry, which carried out the research, said DNA testing was a useful new tool for family historians. As Alex Haley knew only too well at its core, any family history is a combination of established facts and reasonable assumptions. Reasonable assumptions. Based on an out-of-Africa lie, based on a false West African slave, he said, with science such a DNA becoming increasingly popular for use in further family history, it's exciting to see many of those reasonable assumptions. Yeah. Damn, bro. Wow. Okay. So on Genie, they got Simon Alexander, the son of Alex. See, now they got him as Bow Haley. So William H. Bow, they're saying is the dad, right? That's his no picture, right? They try to give me a picture. I'm gonna show you guys of another person that wasn't Bow. So William Hartwell Bow. There's a whole story about him. I wanted to go ahead and look up. Let me see. Yeah. So we doing this live, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's 9. Okay, so this is one of the pictures they try to put on me, but then it did say John JJ Bow on the Ancestry. Let me show you. Right under it. As you guys can see, it says JJ Bow, age 16. So that's not William Hartwell Bow. I don't know if that's his brother or son or whatever. Okay. Either way, let me show you the hints I got. You guys can't hear me? You guys can hear me? Hey, hey, hey. Test 1, check. Marvin said we got no audio. Marvin, You sure? Okay, okay. So I got all these right here. So this is supposed to be his dad, right? Alex Haley's grandfather's dad. So this would be his great grandfather, William Hartwell Bow. He's supposed to be an overseer of a plantation. So again, guys, remember the context behind slavery in America, how it worked, indentured servitude, all that. Who's really being enslaved? This is when you got to apply all that stuff. Okay. Trying to get a story about him. I know I read it when you guys, when I was early, I was reading about him. Let me see if it was actually right here. Okay. Yeah. Alexander Bow. So these ones say William Ball married to a Lizzie in 1882. He was born about 1827. I don't think that's him unless he has a son named the same way. Unless he married somebody right before he died at an old age. You know, I don't think that's him. So I'm gonna ignore those. That might be an ancestor. That's in Lauderdale, Alabama, so it may be related to him. And it doesn't match Sabrina. Okay. And then this guy's in Tennessee, in Giles. Okay. So this really like is going off oral tradition, but I think I read, let me see, if it was through the bow. I think it was through the bows they're talking about he's Scottish. Let me see. DNA test, Alex Haley had Scottish roots. History News Network. The tests have established that Haley, whose work is credited with helping transform the self-image of millions of Black Africans, the self-image, this is what he did. It transformed the self-image. Now he made you think you were African. It's directly descended from a Scottish paternal bloodline. Paternal, right? The findings came after a sample DNA from Haley's nephew, Chris Haley, matched that of a distant cousin, June Bath Black, who lives in Wales. Okay, let me see. Okay, there we go. The findings by the website Ancestry.co UK are the first scientific confirmation of Alex Haley's own research in which he traces ancestry back to William Bow, a variation of Bath. It becomes Bath, guys. That's where it comes. An overseer of Alabama slave plantation who was thought to have fathered a child with female slave called Sabrina or Vinnie, who is believed, right? So let's read the entire article. Okay, that's it. Yeah. So the lady who helped him with she's like very big with the DNA stuff. She works for the FBI and national security and everything too. It's crazy. Like I don't, but let me. So I guess through the bow side. So right. So somehow this is correct, guys. The bow. That's his. That's literally his family, right? So then we got his parents, James Hartwell Bow and Eunice Williams. And we got Sabrina already. We had Sabrina Vinnie. We had Mullins, Haley, Harbor for her. Trying to figure out where the Haley's coming from then, right? Where did the Haley come from then? If his dad is a Bow. Somebody got her being born in Vermont. Look at that. You know, I don't know. I go with Alabama, but she passed away in Chickasaw County, Mississippi, right? Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Shout out to the YouTube audio library. Yeah. So James Bow, so that becomes Bath. That's what they're letting us know here, guys. So it keeps going. Most likely, this is pretty accurate from here on because these are historical people, right? So we're gonna go up the Bow side real quick, real quick. See how far back they got it documented here. So we reached the Richard Bow, 1775, Dinwiddle County, Virginia. Okay. And Elizabeth Hartwell, Pepper Hartwell. And then we got Williams' mom, Eunice M. Williams from Kentucky. Her dad, Daniel Benjamin Williams, Virginia, Florida, Lauderdale, Alabama. Okay. Anna Goodman. All right, we'll get back to that. Now, Sabrina Vini Haley. I got some stuff here, not a lot. Vinnie Mullins, Chickasaw County. That's definitely her. That's when she passed away. It says housewife. Okay. Don't say nothing about no slave. Brain dysfunction. It says brain. Wow. They all had brain dysfunctions. Wow. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Sabrina Mullins, Huntsville, Alabama. I mean, this is pretty much the hints they gave me. That's it, guys. Right. And then we got some families that have her. And they got, this family has Thomas Haley. So seems the Haley's coming from her side. And Charity Mullins, that goes to Mullins. Okay. And that's Susan Bow. So this lady still carries the Bow name. She might know. She might have a whole family Bible. You know, let's see what in her profile what she has for records. And pretty much she has what I have. I don't know who Elizabeth Bow is though. Sabrina. So not sure where she got the parents, but she's a Bow. Maybe she knows. Okay. And it says unknown. Pretty much no more info on them. Okay. We'll go ahead and add that. Yo, Toby. Tobias. Tobias, huh? You mean Tobias, huh? They're like, come on, get to the good part, Kurimeo. Get to the good part. Yo, Red Lion, Wagwan. Yes. Get to the good part, Kurimeo. Get to the good part, man. All right. Okay. So again, very clear, right? Roots author has Scottish blood, right? DNA proves author Alex Haley has Scottish blood. Okay. So again, on that side, no Africans, right? No Africans, right? Pretty much. I mean, if anything, Indians, right? If anything, Indians, if anything other than European, we're talking about Indians, right? Who's Sabrina's people? We're the Haleys. But we'll try to get further into that. Just hold up, guys. All right, going back to Alec and Queen. Now they try to say her dad was a white man. That's what they're trying to say. Supposedly, but she ended up in a mental hospital. They're saying, whoa. So this is a supposed picture of her. I think it is. I think, all right. I mean, you know, copper-colored tribes of America. Yeah. Okay. So facts. So 1870 census. Here we go. I want you to see I got stuff. All right. So at age 11, Queen Jackson. The oldest person here is a Carrie Jackson. So not sure how it relates to her, but let's see what it's saying on the. Okay, so this is one of those profession, occupation ones, so it doesn't list the relationship. Okay. But she's a Jackson here at 11 years old. So it seems she is a Jackson. Okay. Yeah. All right, all right. Oh wow. Hey, so you know, I got a lot of records on her, but I didn't really get anything to really verify her dad, honestly. I think I got time for her mom. Can't remember. I think I did get time for her mom. Queen Esther Haley. Is a marriage record with Queen and Alex. Okay. So supposedly, okay, this is the story, guys. This is what I'm saying. Oh, let me see. Queen Esther Seabrook Jackson. Ardell County, Alabama. Let me see. Because I was doing all this research and I'm like just reading through the, you gotta discern through everything, guys. You gotta really discern through everything. Okay. It says literary figure. She was born on the forks of the cypress plantation, the child of the plantation's owner and a slave. Isn't that like the typical story in his whole family? After the Civil War, she made her way north. She settled in Savannah, working at the cherry plantation. She was the second wife of Alex Haley, a local ferry operator. Her grandson, author Alex Haley, will write the novel Queen about her life. It was later made into a miniseries. Okay, it's a TV show today. Okay. So here is saying that James Jazz Jackson is her dad and Esther Jackson. Jackson, right? And I think they try to, make the dad the white man, as you guys can see. But is he? Is he really a white man? Is he really a white man? And when we're talking about his mom was a slave, okay, that doesn't mean African, right? That really doesn't mean African, guys. So we're gonna add the third, James Jackson the third, born 1822 in Alabama. And we already had Esther. Right here, they're calling her Vinny. Esther Vinny Jones Jackson, huh? Jones, huh? Jones, huh? So she's probably a Jones. That's probably her maiden name, the so-called slave. And Alec and Esther Vinny Jones. Wait, mother. Yeah, we got her. James. Okay. Alec. Annie. Abner. So we're doing this live so you guys can see. That's why I said I wanted to do it. Go ahead. I stopped doing it. I was like, let me just go live. So we got a George Haley. We got another one, Henry. And a spouse. So she did marry him as a Davy. So that's probably it. She was married before she married Alex to a Davis. So we got Cube Jackson. Francis Jackson. These are her siblings. Francis. Now you see, these people have you tell me if this is the same person. I mean, I think it is. It does look like a younger version of her. All right, they have her as Teeny. That's what I was saying. That's actually Queenie. And hmm, let me just there we go. Just want you guys see. Okay. I mean, to me, it does kind of still look like her. Yeah, that's a younger version of her right there, for sure. Okay, so we're talking about Queen. Queen, the one that miniseries is based off. Okay, Queen Esther. That's her. Again, we're on the paternal side, right? Still. And then we got supposed to be all white people because he's supposed to be white and the plantation owner, James Jackson the third. So all these people are supposed to be white, right? So where's the Africans? I'm being serious, guys. He's coming from Ireland. Look, James Jackson the second. He was born in Ballabay, Monaghan, Ireland. Ended up in Florence, Lauderdale, Alabama. Okay. And his mom is Sarah Sally Moore with we got drawings here. We got drawings. That's a drawing. That says she's from Halifax, North Carolina. We got a drawing. We got drawings. That's not a real picture. When was camera invented, guys? Yeah. Okay. Just seeing where it goes, right? So we already know on this side is Ireland, so he would be James Jackson with the images, right? That's what I'm saying. That's the hijack a little bit with the images, but all right. Jackson, huh? Just like Michael Jackson, just like a lot of folks have Jackson. Yeah. Black folks, yeah. So, Alex Haley, are you related to Andrew Jackson too? Yeah. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Come on. Come on. Yeah. Go ahead. Uh, uh, Kunta. Kinte. Kunta. Kinte. Kunta. uh, wow. Hey guys, so I'm just going through history and like this right here after James, Colonel James Jazz, Jackson, that's all historical. That's all known historical family and people, and whether they were white or so-called black. Like I believe all of these are like these are all whitewash stuff, guys, right here. I mean, look at the wig on him, and come on, we already know, you know. They gotta prove it to me, honestly. Like you guys might believe these are all white folks, but you know, where does it change? Where did it all of a sudden like, you know? So on this side, I don't know if you guys were paying attention. So I went up Queen's dad, James Jackson, right? James Jackson the second, Sarah Moore, Halifax, North Carolina. James Jackson Sr., Monaghan, Ireland, right? So on that side, they're from Ireland, right? Mary Steele, Ireland, right? So Irish. The Jacksons on that side, Irish, right? That Jackson blood that she's carrying, Queen Jackson is Irish, guys. I'm not saying she's not Indian. I'm saying that Jackson is carrying some Irish blood. Jackson means sons of Jacob. If you don't know, sons of Jacob. Jackson, that's what Jackson means, sons of Jacob. Okay. So Sarah Moore's parents, we got George Terrence Moore, Esquire, Moore, right? Moore, right? Moore. Moore. The mom, Elizabeth Mary Walkers, from Buckingham, England. Waters. Got that Waters? They're from England, huh? Yeah, John Waters, England. Her dad, her mom. So any genealogists you like to verify this? Any Pan-African? You want to verify? I guess these don't count. These don't count as his ancestors, right? These don't count, even though it's blood. These don't count. Are you guys seeing so far? Are you guys seeing? Up. Esther Vinnie Jones. She's supposed to be the slave of James Jackson. Then he had a baby named Queen with her, right? Maybe she was a servant, an indentured servant, or just somebody working in his farm, an Indian enslaved. Could have been so many things, right? He was supposedly born 1816 in Florence, Lauderdale, Alabama. Right, let me see what I got for her. So look at this. I found this 1830 census, Pickens, Alabama, of Esther Jackson, Easter. This person seems to have people working under them too, if it's her. That came up as a hint. And then we got Esther Jackson, the grave. This is her. Children, Queen Allie. There you go. That's the mom. So that's why I was saying I was able to verify the mom because it's on that death thing, but I was never able to verify the dad. But supposedly that's her dad. That's according to everything you start Googling, everybody's saying, yeah, she was the son of the plantation owner. Okay, then that's her dad. Was it really rape and all that always? Like, this is what I'm trying to tell you guys. Like, So now, Ancestry is giving me for Esther, Vinnie Jones, other Jacksons. You see, they're giving me Dick, Captain Jackson, Annie Jackson. Is that true? Is that? I mean, I have nothing to verify that with, and that would mean she's also a Jackson. I thought the Jackson came from the James, her husband. So if she's a slave, wouldn't she be like an African or something? I mean, we're in the 1700s, right? 1800s early. So right here, this right here, this I wouldn't add this because this is inconclusive to me. This is not very conclusive to me. So I would hit search here. Yes, if you were a slave, okay. If you were a slave, okay. And a lot of times it wasn't. A lot of times it was consensual. A lot of times that's their wife. A lot of times that's their mistress, and the person did it too. It wasn't always rape. That's what I'm saying, Jay Sanders. And then what type of slave? And it doesn't mean that the plantation master was white. That's the other thing. These are okay. So that could have been black folks doing it to other black people, black on black. Okay, Jay Sanders, you got that clear? Just gotta have a little context too. So Esther Jackson, again, that's Queen. And the first slaves came to Carolinas. The first slaves, really. Jay Sanders, I got videos on this, right? With the Allion expedition. You're talking about the Ayllon expedition. Lucas Vasquez Allion expedition, man. He brought up Carib Indians. He brought up Indians. There was already so-called black folks here in the Americas. Jay Sanders, man. Why don't you just sit back and learn and listen and catch up on the videos? That was not the first slaves. Slavery was going on here since ancient times. All right, man, you're corny, bro. Now you got yourself blocked. Okay. Yeah, okay, but give me real examples, man. Let's just stop generalizing. You don't get what I'm saying. Now you're acting childish. Now you got blocked. This ain't funny, man. You're talking about people's real history. A lot of people, a lot of black folks were never slaves. All right, so don't come here being childish, acting like a dummy, man. Don't worry, he got blocked. My fault, guys. All right, we was having such a smooth, right? They mad because their hero Alex, their heroes, getting exposed. They big time mad. Nobody's saying slavery or people being treated like Chattel didn't happen. Nobody's saying that. You're missing a lot of context, though. It's not a crayon color history, man. It's not a crayon color history. You're missing so much context. And you got no humility. You got too much pride to accept that, to really understand what I'm saying right now. Okay? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Uh, they big time hurt. They can't handle this. Big time hurt. They big time hurt. Can't handle this. Big time hurt. Yeah. Oh. Big time hurt. That's the hijack. All right, all right. Hawa. Okay. So, in conclusive, like I don't know where these potential parents are coming from, really. Like, I haven't read no stories of her parents at all. She's supposed to be the slave, right? And we just got somebody put Jones on her name. So that's something we can probably follow up on. If I was this person's family, right? Get some real oral, at least get the oral. Okay, is her dad really Dick? Who said that? Who said that? Anna, okay, who said that? When was the first said? Okay. So we're going back. I just wanted you guys to see that was like his paternal side, right? That's literally his paternal side, guy, right? Right? Okay. What Africans? What Africans on paternal side? They're even confirming it. They're even confirming it, right? They're even confirming it. There they go again. Oh yeah, Scottish roots on his paternal side, right? All right, Jay, on his paternal side. All right. Okay. Yeah. The jig is up. They big time hurt. That's the hijack. Okay. So we good with the. Oh, but all right. Show his mom's side now, Kurimeo. That's where the Africans are. Show his mom's side. Yeah. Before we do that. Before we do that. Before we do that, we're gonna go ahead and show a little presentation. Okay. We're gonna bring it back like it's the first time. We're gonna get it. Whoa. We're gonna get it like it's the first time. My fault. Okay. All right.
And like Morpheus is saying here, just trying to free your mind. All right, Neil. But I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it.
All right, Jay Sanders. I could only show you the door. You the one gotta walk through it, man.
What's reality and what's fiction? Now, I just wanted to emphasize on something. I know a lot of you already know, but I think it's very important for those who don't know or just forget or just try to ignore things. Especially for those who might be new or still holding on to the whole slave trade narrative and all that. I have a book here, right? We're in the archive.org where you can find many archives of original scanned copies from prestige libraries and universities, primary sources, even novels, videos, all kinds of things, right? Made for the public. All right. I was able to borrow this book. This book is written by Harold Corlander. So a lot of you already might know where I'm going with this. This book is called The African. It says a novel, the original compelling saga of African American roots. Oh, really? Right? Before anything, right? I just want to go all the way to the back of the book. All the way to the back. All right? And just read a couple of these things, because this is the brainwashing that goes on. Now, we already know who the Spanish and Portuguese were really enslaving, so that's the hijack. All right? Now, the back of the book says, what does it say? An extraordinary achievement. The Chattanooga Times says, The African is an unforgettable, moving story of an African boy who was kidnapped from his homeland by American slave traders. Really, Americans? Born of decades of field research among African and Caribbean peoples, this novel recreates the horrors of the Middle Passage. Oh, really? So it recreates it? So you're saying this is a real story? Where Suhuno heroic fight for survival while shipwrecked on the island of St. Lucia, and the ultimate degradation of enslavement. Throughout these ordeals, Corlander passionately delivers the African confusion over his plight as well as his captors' ambiguities and rationalizations over enslaving their fellow men. Oh, alright, so yeah, they gave that crazy review. Now this is crazy because you're gonna see why. Alright, now let me just show you this other. Right, it says first published in 1967, The African has sold more than 300,000 copies, was translated into several languages, and was a proven primary source. A primary source for what? For Alex Haley's, who's that? Pulitzer Prize winning Roots? What is that? That movie? Wait, that movie Roots? You mean Kunta Kinte? You mean this is his primary source? Oh, this must be some real shit right here then. This book must be really scholarly. Damn, this is his primary source for the movie Roots about an African being brought to the Americas? It says now available in a handsome paperback edition with a new preface by the author. The African presents an engrossing storyline embodied by powerful characters who provide an insightful journey through the volatile frontiers of American slavery. Oh, really? What are they talking about? Because they keep saying African. I'm a little confused here. Now it says Harold Corland is a novelist, folklorist, and specialist in the oral traditions of African and Caribbean cultures. Really? He's a specialist. He has written more than 35 books, including the best-selling The Cowtail Switch and Other West African Stories, and The Drum and the Hoe, Life and Lore of the Haitian People. Man, this guy's all right. I guess he's an expert, right? Says the reader comes away from the African believing this is what it must really have been like. Oh my gosh! So what is he doing? He's making people really, really believe in the whole African slave trade, right? The whole Middle Passage. This is by Publishers Weekly. That's what they're saying. Strikingly successful, The Atlantic Monthly. This novel of tremendous moving proportions, Corlander writes with deep understanding. Oh, really? Man, Corlander must have done his research. Man, a straightforward and shocking account. It's shocking! The Providence Journal. All right, so man, he got some good reviews, right? And it's Alex Haley's primary source for his movie roots. Really? All right. Now, the only problem with this, I need you to understand this, and I'm going to zoom into it. All right. This is not a conspiracy. This is not a theory. All right. This book, this story is a fictional story. It's fiction. This is a fictional book. So how's this shocking? What do you mean he had deep understanding? What are you talking about? This is a fictional story. Wait a minute. Alex Haley's primary source was a fictional story? A fictional story? What? Kunta Kinta's not real? But wait a minute. I thought he had descendants and everything in America. Like, what's up? Alex Haley. I thought Alex Haley's. Oh my gosh. Brilliantly presented. Oh yeah, you definitely did it well to fool everybody. You did a great job. That's why he got all these awards, right? Just want to read a little bit of what the author says. All right. Now I want to see this little paragraph right here. Look what he says. It says the African was written in the mid-60s, by which time I had been deeply immersed in the study of African, Caribbean, and African American cultures. It was not researched. Look, it was not researched. In parentheses, he's letting you straight up know. In the usual sense, everything was up there, waiting for me to use it. It just came to him. When the idea came to me, I told you, when the idea came to me that there should be a story such as this one, I reflected quite a while on what form it should take. I had never read a novel about enslaved Africans that encompassed what I had to say, and therefore had no models. So there's no records, there's nothing that existed before he actually wrote that about a Middle Passage. There's nothing like that. There wasn't no stories like that because it wasn't real. He didn't have nothing to go off. He's telling you no models. But one morning, listen, I just sat down at my typewriter and began. He just started writing some hijack narrative of history. He just had an idea. He sat down and just started writing with no research, with no sources. All right? Another writer will understand me if I say the narrative seemed to write itself. It just wrote itself, really. Or did they put you onto this and make you a best-selling author so you can sell a fake lie of history? So you can continue to lie to the Aboriginal people of the Americas, because you already had taken all their land mostly and already had misclassified all of them as Negro color. All right? And I simply went along with it as a companion wherever it led. He just went wherever. He just took it wherever. He went extreme with it. He made this story up. By the time the book was finished, I had the feeling that Huesuhuno, later called West, was a real person who had shared himself and his life with me. So he got possessed by a fake person, he says. He made him real.
Man.
He wrote the book so good, the story, that he made this person real.
Wow.
This is Alex Haley's primary source of fictional story that this guy didn't do no research on. He's letting you know.
Yep.
All right, and then it goes on to the fake story right away. All right, I don't care to read this lie because you know what? We just went over what happened to the American Indian, the real cruelties, the real history, and you want us to focus on a fake history? You want us to pity something that didn't really happen when something really happened over here? All right, a real Holocaust, real atrocities, real so-called slavery, slave raids, these expeditions, right? These explorations were slave expeditions. The Spanish and Portuguese were conducting here in America. Now, let me just read this. I found this, right? It says, Kunta Kinte struggled to be African. Kunta Kinte. All right, this is from the Phylon. All right, this is from the Clark Atlanta University. All right, Review of Race and Culture. All right, volume 47. Now we got an online article here, says by Harold Corland, the Kunta Kinte struggle to be African. Now it says, it is almost a decade since the publication of Alex Haley's Roots, and in the public view, at least controversy generated by the book appears to have worn itself out. There no longer seems to be the sense of immediacy about answers to serious critical challenges, nor is there any clear measure of how those challenges might have affected the public image of Roots. The questions raised were numerous. For example, Haley's fact-finding trip to Gambia. Was he told only what his informants knew he wanted to hear? You hear this? Or did he manipulate what he heard? And about Kunta Kinte, on whose existence the whole saga hangs, was Kunta really captured in the manner described by Haley? All right, look what they're asking. And did he really make the Atlantic crossing on the Lord Ligonier? It's a fictional story. No, he didn't. Was the slave named Toby on the Waller plantation really the same person as Kunta? No, it's a fictional story. And how much or little of the narrative was history, as the publisher stoutly proclaimed it to be, and how much was fiction? How much is history, how much is fiction? Let's say 98% of it is fiction, 2% meaning that it happened here in America. Many such questions have in fact been answered, but whatever meanings they may have had for the community in general, Roots continue to be read and quoted. All right, Roots is still used as the source, and it's a fiction. It's found everywhere on library shelves. It's a cornerstone of various Black study programs. And also, right, who uses it always? Pan-Africans. This is how they try to program us when we were little in school, by putting the school in us, this movie in our heads, these ideas. And by some, both Black and whites, is considered to be a milestone in nurturing of Black self-awareness in America. Really? A fictional story. See how bad they got us? In short, the book has an established place in contemporary American literature and will be spoken of no doubt for some time to come. Yet what struck me forcibly in numerous readings of Roots is how un-African Kunta is most of the time, and the extent to which Haley unwittingly derogated the ideal he sought to celebrate. Kunta's behavior, perceptions, and explanations of self frequently are untrue to African personality, African knowledge of people and the world around them, African technology and capability, and the disciplines and sophistication of most African societies. All right, so he wasn't even African. He didn't act. He didn't, So you know why? Because it's a fictional story, right? So get the article. All right, keep reading it. It's really good. It goes on to saying how garbage it is. Really, it just keeps complaining. All right, Chicago Tribune. All right. Alex Haley's facts can be doubted, but not his truths. All right, it says Alex Haley died last year, but the trashing of his memory continues apace. Alex Haley's hoax, how the celebrated author faked the Pulitzer Prize-winning Roots, screamed the front page headline on February 23rd, Village Voice. You hear that? He hoaxed everybody. The author, Philip Noble, charges after sifting through Haley's archives at the University of Tennessee at Knoxville and after interviewing some of the sources Haley cites, that Haley bent facts or stole passages from start to finish to produce the stirring saga that became a record-smashing hit television series and a cultural milestone of modern American race relations. All right, you hearing this? Haley's offenses are so egregious. Noble says that the Pulitzer Board should posthumously take back the prize it presented Haley and a special award category in 1977. Instead, Noble charges his story as being blacked out, or if you prefer, whited out, by major media to frighten and guilt-ridden to pick up his crusade. All right? You see what's going on? He got a Pulitzer Prize for this fictional story. He's saying he showed the survey, he plagiarized, and he bent facts. He altered stories. Not surprisingly, Haley's defenders have lambasted Noble's lengthy report as a racist attack on black intellectualism and cultural heroes. I want to continue with a video, a news clip, right, about, roots and the new series, right? I want to show you how brainwashed people still are and how they're still pushing this on us right now. We don't even question it. We don't even, stop telling us lies. Stop broadcasting this like it's a real story. And they try to get to your emotions. So now look at how they got everybody, all right? And look at the impact they had on everybody during that time when it came out in 1977.
It was by every measure epic. The made-for-television miniseries Roots, which aired right here on AC and a refund of households for more than a Super Bowl. First time on TV, it was a very human story of slavery, what's been called as original sin, told from the slave's perspective. Now, a new version of Roots for a new generation premieres next week. Few roles in television history cast a longer shadow than Kunta Kinte. The African boy who became an American slave in Roots.
I opened my eyes, and I was here. So,
A record 130 million people tuned in, a milestone for our nation.
you name Kobe.
A looking glass of sorts at the degradation of slavery.
What's your name?
It's an important step. The country seemed to stand still.
The commitment to family, I instilled it in my children. So,
I'm sorry, guys. I can't show the whole thing because I remembered maybe I'm, they'll hate. Trust me. They'll give me something,
it's powerful in that sense.
Kizzy, now married,
I hope that little clip they showed I was,
a mother of two.
This is how I heard boy.
We brought the entire family in for a private screening of Roots. The pain of the miniseries, the pride it revealed, all remembered.
It's always hard to watch, but it is a lot to learn from.
For this family and many others, Anika Noni Rose is Kizzy in the remake.
If you ever touch
150, 165 years ago. But all it is a political mirror as to what we are doing today.
The other starring role, Chicken George, portrayed by another newcomer.
Of kids out there for whom the original was old and was dated. And so in order for them to get the power of the story, it had to be retold for them in a language that they could understand.
The power of this uniquely American...
But I don't know who, if is he,
In a language that they could understand.
The power of this uniquely American story, the lessons learned, and those still to come.
I think that's the value of storytelling. It helps give us a context for who we are, why we're here, and what we're doing while we're here.
all right, so damn, you see all the propaganda. They still even got a miniseries and they're promoting it like it's real. The main actor from the first movie, he's like, oh man, just telling the story. What story? This fictional story? What are you talking about? You think he doesn't know? What is he, an agent? These are all agents. What's up with these people? Maybe that young dude don't know. He's just following. He's an African. I don't know. But I don't know if he's down. I don't know if he's a Mason. I don't know. He's in the secret order or whatever. But they're lying. All these people are lying. They're such liars. They're still trying to get into your emotions, trying to brainwash you so you don't fight back for your land. All right, we already saw who the Spanish and Portuguese were enslaving, and we got many more records. I didn't even show all my videos because I got more info on like the Origin of America video. I think it brought over 4,000 Indians as slaves to South America to replenish the slave population. It wasn't Africans. And that's wrong that they would try to cover this and create a whole fake fictional story and promote it more and more and more. Why don't they do a whole production of what really happened? Why don't they do a series of what really happened? You understand? Ah, man. and you still pushing this, man. You still use this as your source, primary source of fictional story. All right, so we're in the New York Times website, and this is an article they wrote in 1978 by Arnold H. Lubach. All right, fair use. This is the article, and it's on this section of the article right here down the bottom, roots, plagiarism, suicide. You can actually subscribe to this and get the original. But why if I got it digitalized right here? And you can verify it. We already know it's true. All right, so it says Alex Haley settled a lawsuit yesterday by acknowledging that his world-renowned book, Roots, contains some material from a relatively unknown novel about slavery that was published 9 years earlier. The settlement ended six-week trial of a suit by Harold Corlander, a 70-year-old author from Bethesda, Maryland, all right, who contended that there were substantial similarities between Roots and his own earlier novel, The African. Now it says he sued in federal district court in Manhattan for more than half the profits of Roots. As the trial was about to reach climax, with summations by the opposing lawyers, they issued the following statement. The suit has been amicably settled out of court. So Alex Haley was like, oh man, I'm about to get exposed big time and this is going to go viral in those times, whatever way it could, right? So what he did is he contacted him and was, yo, let's just settle with how much money you need. Alex Haley acknowledges and regrets that various materials from The African by Harold Corlander found their way into his book Roots. He had to admit that he plagiarized this fictional story that you still believe in. Under the agreement to settle, the amount of money that will be paid to Mr. Corlander and his publisher, Crown, was not disclosed, but the nature of the case made it seem likely that the amount would be hundreds of thousands of dollars. All right? He got sued for this fictional story he plagiarized. All right? History News Network. All right? .org. The 1 of the Prize Award has ever returned on April 1981, 2 days conferring the 1980 Feature Writing Prize on Washington Post reporter Janet Cook. The board received a telegram from the paper's executive editor Ben Bradley stating that Cook had declined the award and resigned. She told Post editors early this morning that her story about an 8-year-old heroin addict was in fact a composite, that the quotes attributed to a child were fabricated, and that certain events described as eyewitness did not in fact happen. The members of the 1981 board were polled by telephone and the award was officially withdrawn. The 1977 board faced a similar situation with another prize winner who was likewise accused of making up people who never existed and events that never occurred in his best-selling book. This time the board did not withdraw the award, nor would successive boards when the same writer was tarred with mounting evidence of plagiarism and fraud in the same book. Nobody wanted his ass, cracked Bradley, a member of the perennial segregated board. He was speaking of Alex Haley's Roots, all right? A giant hoax whose untarnished Pulitzer standing continues to sully the ethics and honor of the organization. And you see, and because of that, he's still getting miniseries. This is not exposed. He's not being clowned. He's not being exposed to the major. He's not being embarrassed, put out there. Why not? Why is this not news? To tell you that was a fake story. On April 18, 1977, Haley's monumental 1976 bestseller was lionized with a special award. The citation read, "For Roots, the story of a black family from its origins in Africa through the 7 generations to the present day in America." You see, they gave him an award for a... Damn, this upsets me so much. You know, they gave him an award. And they said, why? Because it's the story of a so-called black or crayon color family and origins in Africa. We've debunked all this. Are you saying that all these famous professors and all these intellectual people can't do the research that I did and see most so-called blacks in America did not originate in Africa? All right, they're talking about 7 generations. It's a lie. They gave him a special award for that, for lying, because they knew that he had brainwashed everybody. This is an agent. This was created on purpose. There's a weapon they used against you. The board's announcement came 8 days after a front-page New York Times story, following up on a London Sunday Times exposed debunked Haley's historic African genealogy. All right, and a copyrighted article by Mark Ottaway The Sunday Times said that investigations in Africa and examinations of British colonial records and Lloyd's shipping documents indicated that Mr. Haley had been mistaken or misled in his African research. They actually went to verify. Listen to this, you'd never heard of this. All right. There appeared to be no factual basis, the article said, for Mr. Haley's conclusion that he had actually traced his genealogy back to Kunta Kinte in the village of Yufuri, Gambia, and that Kunta Kinte had been captured by slavers in 1767. It's fake. It never happened. Why? We already know he got the story from the African, a fictional book. He plagiarized. He had to admit to. Of course it's fake. The account of Kunta Kinte, it said, was provided by a man of notorious unreliability who knew in advance what Haley wanted to hear and who subsequently gave a totally different version of the tale. Oh man, they went and investigated. You see, they don't expose this. The 1977 board ignored the Sunday Times' devastating refutation of Haley's African field work. So go ahead and look into that. Sunday Times, all right, they exposed this dude, all right, and nobody listened to it. They be protected by the elite, man. They want to push this African thing on you. All right, on December 14, 1978, Haley admitted plagiarizing The African, a slave novel by prolific folklorist Harold Corlander, and Roots, and paid $650,000, worth $2,580,000 today, to make the copyright infringement case go away. On the eve of the judge's decision, a page one New York Times story reported, Alex Haley settled the lawsuit yesterday by acknowledging that his world-renowned book Roots contained some material from a relatively unknown novel about slavery that was published 9 years earlier. All right, so we got that already, that article. All right, so it says the 1979 board took no action on Haley's massive piracy. On February 23, 1993, a year after Haley's death, the Village Voice published my 9,000-word analysis of Haley's private papers and tapes bequeathed to the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. From these materials emerged a picture of an irredeemable literary scoundrel who polluted Black history and genealogy. He's a scoundrel, scammer, liar, agent. He polluted what? So-called Black history, genealogy, making fun of all your genealogy and history. They're disrespecting it with an avalanche of lies and Roots. All of Haley's ripping yarns about his search for Kunta Kinte and his 10-year struggle to write Roots were part of an elegant and complex make-up as you go along scam. It was a scam. They scammed you. They scammed all of us. One stunning example, a reel-to-reel tape on file at UT, revealed that Roots' climactic sacramental tear-soaked scene with an imposter, Gambian griot, oral historian, who confirmed the existence of Haley's 18th century slave ancestor Kunta Kinte was a charade. It was fake. They even made somebody say it was real. They paid somebody over there in Africa to say, yeah, that's my ancestor. It was a charade. It was all fake. Remember, they did a Sunday Times investigated. It was fake. The griot recited no lineage of the Kinte clan as worship fully portrayed in Roots. Instead, Haley fed him a few pre-arranged questions, and the griot replied with answers massaged by Haley's Gambian government associates. All right, you better say this or we're gonna kill you. As long as he lived, Haley apparently never let anyone hear the tape. All right, nobody ever heard the tape. He was like, yo, say this, hey, say this. This time around, the 1993 board dealt with Roots in its fashion, and my urgent Chairman Claude set and opened the door to review of Haley's prize. He distributed the voice piece to board members and placed the matter on the annual meeting agenda, but no discussion ensued. Sitton's colleagues, including Harvard philosopher Cicella Bogue, Des Moines Register editor Geneva Overholser, and New York Times columnist Russell Baker, unanimously declined to reconsider Roots' status. They're like, no, man, we need that to stay, to be the actual story. We don't need to tell people that was fictional or give back this award. Imagine if they gave back this award, that will make news, and then people will be like, well, why are they giving this back? And then they make you question. Your emotions will go off again. Everybody will it will wake a lot of people up. All right, how many people watch my videos? Not everybody's gonna see this info. right? You get what I'm saying? So they keep it from the mass public, right? They keep it away. The hardest hit on Haley bona fides came from Harvard professor and 2006 Chair Henry Louis Gates. In his role as general editor of the Canonical Norton Anthology of African American Literature, 1996, Gates took the extraordinary step of denying an entry for the first black male Pulitzer winner. In effect, he annihilated Haley's legacy and delegitimized Root's prize. You see, he would have got that. He would have been known as the very first so-called black Pulitzer Prize winner. But since it was fake, this guy who actually owns that, who gives these awards, all right, who has this Norton Anthology of African American Literature, he said, "No, you're fake. In fact, you're a scam." All right, humiliated him. All right, he said, "Let's be candidly." He made plain in the Boston Globe. Most of us feel it's highly unlikely that Alex actually found the village from whence his ancestors sprang. Roots is a work of the imagination rather than the strict historical scholarship, all right? All right, so it keeps going. Hey, man, so we already know it's fraud, right? So down here it says, nevertheless, as Harvard historian and 1954 Pulitzer winner Oscar Hanlon observed of Roots, a fraud's fraud. A fraud, it's a fraud. All right, it's a fraud. Most historians are cowardly about reviewing history books. The whole idea of being factual about material has gone out the window. Historians are reluctant, cowardly about calling attention to factual errors when the general theme is in the right direction. That goes for foreign policy, for race, and for this book. I think it's a disgrace. Foreign policy, it's a policy. They have to make you believe you're still African. They have to still make you believe you're an African. All right, man, they go into so much deep research right here. All right, it's a lot. All right, so I'm gonna just leave it there. All right, but I just wanted to show you, in case you didn't know how deep this went. It's all fake. It's all fake, and they pushed it on you, and they're still pushing it on us today. All right, break the spell.
Yeah, we ain't done. We ain't done. You gotta break the spell. We ain't done breaking the spell. Yeah, we ain't done breaking the spell. Okay. Uh-huh. 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 All right, so we did his dad's side, right? You guys saw. A lot of European, possibly some Indian, here and there, Probably a lot of Indian here and there, you never know. But, no Africans for sure. All right, we're going to go into his mom's side real quick. It says Bertha George Palmer. We got her info. Her parents are William Edward Palmer, born 72, Tennessee. Passed away in 1926 in Hannon, Lauderdale County, Tennessee. Yeah. So we did go through his info a little bit. All right. And again, here he is at 8 years old with George and Selena Turner appears. Turner, Grover, I think another marriage. Okay. So you guys can see there is records. There you go. George Palmer and Selena Grover, his parents. This is from a death certificate. Okay. And his wife, again, Cynthia Leah Babica Murray. Just look at this picture. Just to have reference and context, right? Remember the people, right? Rest in power. All right, I think that's her right there, Cynthia Leah Babica Murray. Murray, right? Birthplace, North Carolina. They ended up in Lauderdale, Tennessee. Father's name, Thomas. Mother, Renee or Irene. Is Renee or Irene. Thomas and Tom or Tom. That's her parents. Okay, here And here's Bertha Palmer, the daughter with William. All three of them again. Her people coming out of, the North Carolina, right? Going on to their parents. On the Palmer side, on the George. 1870 census. They got him living alone, but he's probably living with his people here. 1880. He's already with Selena. Here's William and Selena. I know I got his parents. There we go. Death index. George W. Palmer. He was a piano salesman. That says occupation piano salesman. It says father's name, Solomon Palmer, Maria Bird. Solomon Palmer. So that's his parents. Okay. And not much really I can find on the parents yet, because I haven't really, there's not really a lot on them. Let's see if we can find anything, right? About 1820. Here is a death certificate for George. There we go. So this is George's death certificate. And again, here's the primary source, right? Where they're getting the info for the death index. Mariah Bird. Kurimeo. Palmer's that? Huh. Okay. So we're going to add that for sure. There's a newspaper article on a Colonel Saul Palmer or Solomon Palmer. Let's see if that's him. Let's see what it says. Necrological. Is that saying colored or colonel? I'm not sure. Solomon Palmer. Superintendent of construction of the Western Union Telegram Company, the oldest telegraph line builder in the world, died at his residence on Chestnut Street last night. He was advanced age of 72 years. He was one of the pioneers in the telegraph construction. This is from Memphis, Tennessee. Hey, I don't know. It might be him, guys. Might be him. See, those are the kind of things family might carry. If I was, here with, my grandfather worked for the telegram. Yeah, those are the things I can confirm. So I hit maybe. That might be him. And, some other family members have him, but, they have Thomas Palmer as the dad. Let's see what sources, if any, they have. Okay. So it seems they're getting it from another family. Thomas Palmer is supposed to have been born, look at that, in London, Virginia. And then moved to Hamilton. If that's the parents, I don't know where they're getting this from. Emily, Martha. Okay, the Sons of the Revolution. Okay. So again, this is the moment I would contact owner Terrence McHelney, right? This is what you guys got to do. And message them and say, hey, how do you know Thomas is the dad? And see what he says. But I think he had other trees attached. So he's probably going off somebody else's tree. Okay. So either way also, well, I think he said they were coming from, oh, hold on. Okay. I'm gonna hit search for that. I'm gonna hit search under Solomon Palmer. And here's a Solomon Palmer in Tennessee. It says so-called black. And it says Minerva Palmer, Richard, Solomon Palmer. So if this is him, this is a whole different family that he had. If that's him. You see? There's even a junior here, Solomon Palmer Jr. If that's him. So another one here, passing away 1874, 27th. We don't have a death date. That might be him. So we have leads. In this case, there's a lead. Let me see this story. 1821, let's see. Solomon Palmer. Okay. So there seems to be more than one Solomon Palmer. Maybe even in Tennessee, you know, so something that kind of got to verify. Again, you know, Palmer family history. See what comes up. You never know. Oh, look, there's a Palmer, Tennessee. There's a whole town named after Palmer family. Says, okay, they say, let's see what it says here real quick. Again, this is just things I do on the side sometimes, like when I help people. The Palmer family of Hardin County, Tennessee, it's probably the same, came from South Carolina. So that's going to go back probably to the South Carolina, you see? Davies and Knox counties, Indiana, to Lauderdale and Jackson counties, Alabama. Lauderdale, right? That's where they were. And we're in 1830 census. Documentation is scarce, but I'm going to try to reconstruct their movement. And if I make a mistake, I'm certain to hear about it swiftly. That's okay. I'm counting on it. So yeah. So that's her thing. I guess this is probably her relatives. All right. Let's see. I see saw note Nolan. But again, that's kind of things you guys can do. Palmer family history. Look, descendant chart. So sometimes there's whole books, sometimes there's whole websites like this, you know. South Carolina. So I might be going back to Palmer's on South Carolina there, okay? So that's kind of what I would, you know, try to pursue. Let me just close some of these windows, guys. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna get to that. Yeah. We got this. Okay. So that's his, let me see. That's his second great grandparents right here on his mom's side, on this side of the family. Maria Bird, second great grandmother. Sally McIntosh, Tennessee. So the death certificate probably of one of the daughters. Sally McIntosh. There's a Mary Beard. Is she married? Mariah married. This might be her too. 1880. Let me see this Beard. So-called white. Spouse's name David Bird. So that's a Bird by marriage. So that's not her. And then Mary Beard, father David Beard. It says so-called white. Let's see what it says. Let me just look at the census real quick. Now you guys see on the chain, you guys see all these people have a check on their color. What does that mean? But they're trying to say this is a white person, right? They're trying to say white. What does that mean? So this could be her. I mean, I can say, yeah, that's her. I don't know. And add her, and then that's the dad, David Byrd. I'm like, yeah. And that could be going up the wrong line. Right? Okay. Isaac, Patrick. Let me see if they match these families. Isaac, okay, Elijah, yeah. So those are related, if that's her. If that's her family, right? The check means they white, obviously. Okay. Check. Check. Mariah Palmer. Bird. Membership of the Church of Christ, Latter-day Saints. Sullivan, Tennessee. Okay. So again, there I can go all day trying to look for it, you know. I'm not, I need more info. Definitely more, but that's the names. Those are the leads. You got leads, so you go boots on the ground, possibly find the information. Going back down to their son, George, his wife, Selena Turner. They had it as Tyus, but I think that was a mistake. This is what I mean. Let me show you. Okay, so right here they have her as Turner. Well, this is something I found in marriage. Right here, they has her as Tyus and George Palmer, Selena. But when I look at her last name here, it's like something's wrong with it. I don't know what's going on here. So I know that other families, though, had Rennie and Matilda Turner as the parents. That's what kept coming up. It actually added it. I don't know at what point I added this, but a couple of the families had that. That's all I could find for her. Let me see. Here. Grover. She died of Grover. That's her child, William and George. Okay. Selena Tyler, that's from the original. So then they got Rennie Turner. That's her parents. So she's a Turner, right? And they're in Tennessee as well. Matilda, born in Tennessee. Hit search on the Remy Turner. So right here, somebody has a Remy Turner married to a, that's probably Matilda. It says Malinda. That's probably Matilda. Elizabeth. Remy Turner, look at that. Black, so-called black. Helper to blacksmith. And spouse, Matilda Turner. That's probably them right here. Look at Selena. Okay, guys, look. I literally found it. All right, I did that live, so you guys can see how I found that. This should have been a hint. This literally should have been a hint. That's why I tell people, you get to a certain point in Ancestry, it's not gonna always help you. They don't want you to go back. They want you to think you guys are all Africans, just like they want you to believe the root story. All right, so here it is. I literally found Selena and Rennie, and I was able to verify what people were putting on the, as the parents. Okay, now I know where they were getting it from. So 1870 census that has Selena. Let me just fix her name. We have Selena. And we have Selena. Yeah, Selena. Selena. Oh yeah, and also I saw one with Selena. Okay. So she is a Turner, as you guys see. So here's one of her siblings, Alexander Turner. Okay, Matilda is the wife. We don't have the maiden name yet. All right. Now we got a record that confirms her parents. I was able to confirm because at first when I was doing it, before I went live, I was like, man, I don't know if that's her parents. but a lot of people had them, you know. But I found it. There you go. So let's see what else came up when I was searching. Right. So now we got one from, that's not him because we already got an 1870 census, and this guy's in Georgia. And then let me see. So literally, guys, as you guys see, that was like the only very clear record that came up. It was the very first one when I hit search on my own. All I had was Rennie Turner, born around 1835 in Tennessee, and that's all I needed. Okay, so let me see if there's anybody else. So R.E. Turner right here, 1860. M.J. Matilda, maybe? No, okay. So let's see what hints come up for him. Well, so E. Turner, Melinda, that's Canada. That's I don't think that's them. So this guy is named Henry. I don't know who Henry is, but that's not him. Oh, maybe it's Rennie. Maybe it's Henry. Maybe it's Henry. Spouse Anne. Oh, well, this is Anne. Well, the other one actually did say, and this is how we verify. All right, you go to the actual census. Right, you view it. You zoom in. And you try to interpret it yourself. And yeah, it does see R, right? That's an R, rare. I guess Rennie Turner. I guess Rennie. Yeah. Very, very neat cursive. Very neat cursive. All right. So I don't think that's him. I don't think that's him. R.T. Turner. That might be him. Slave schedule, huh? Maybe it's not him. Okay, but again, look, I'm gonna click on the record so you guys can see, so I'm not just, okay, look, you can't even click on it, right? And then it says RT. That could be Robert, that could be Richard, that could be Rick, you know, that could be so many other R's. That could be anybody. And I want to see the record so I can interpret it myself. So again, that's not a hint. That's something that I'm just, oh yeah, it is a hint, but that's inconclusive to me. Yeah, I can check census for Ivy. You know, don't worry. I'm not, every little detail, I'm not like really, we're just trying to overdo an overview, right? Because this takes hours, right? We're trying to do overview so we can get most of it shown today. Okay. So R.S. Turner, who was R.S. Turner? They're trying to say all enslaved people. R.S. Turner, really? But when you go into the slave schedule, usually the person listed is the slave owner. Let me show you. Where is he? There's a Turner in here. Where is R.S.? Right? Sterling, Butson, Smith, Bud. There's nobody here named R.S. Turner. Oh, right here, R.T. Turner, right here, you see? There's one person with one supposed slave who's 8 years old. That could be his daughter. That could be the kid, or that could be the little sister. I don't know what. It's just, and when this comes up as a hint, but how do they know that's Rennie Turner? And are you trying to say he's the slave owner now? So if I hit yes, that would be me saying, yeah, that's the slave owner, him, Rennie. But it just says RS. All right. Inconclusive. Inconclusive. I'll connect another family tree just in case they have other hints that might pop up. I think I'm the only one who actually had a record for them, though, that actually found the record. Okay, so we got Remy, Matilda. That's kind of where we end up, you see? To pursue a little further, we go back down. That's the whole, you know, Palmer side, right? That's the whole Palmer side, guys. All right. Now we're gonna go to Cynthia's parents. Yeah. Hope you're enjoying the live genealogy and a little documentary. I also want to read an article to you guys today before we leave. Don't worry if you're in a rush. Hopefully you're not in a rush. Okay. If I'm not in a rush, you shouldn't be. Then I gotta sit here and do this with you guys too. Okay, so yeah, we all got things to do. Let's do this. Let's do. You can pause this anytime and watch it whenever you like in your free time. I'm just kidding. Anyway, so Cynthia Babcock Murray in 1880, 9 years old. Thomas Mary and Renee or Irene, Okay, those are her parents. A lot of records for her. Cynthia Murray Palmer, colored. Thomas Murray. And right here it says Crane Holt, but that's a later wife that he had. They were related with the Holts, but you'll see. Let me show you. So we got Irene. So these are like historical people in his book, right? This is part of the people related to his so-called roots story, right, guys? We're at that part right now, okay? Try to break this down for you a little bit, okay? Thomas Tom Lee Murray, right? 1900, Irene Murray, wife, right? Lizzie and Vinny living with her. 1880, Lauderdale, Tennessee. Yeah, these are Renee. These are the people right here. They go Cynthia again. 1870, Thomas, Alamance, North Carolina, right? 1850. I found this one. I don't know if this is him. It might be. But it doesn't say white on the census. It's just they put white here, but I was like, maybe that's him. Okay. But according to all the traditions and most everybody probably can confirm, he is the son of the famous George Chicken, or Chicken George, my fault, Chicken George. Or George Leah. George Leah, right? And Matilda McGregor Murray. Leah. Murray also, huh? Murray. So that's where he's getting the Murray from. Tom Leah Murray from his mom. Okay. Tom Leah Murray, birthplace, Cassville County, North Carolina. Passed away in Lauderdale County, Tennessee. The father, George Leah. Here we go. Or Chicken George. Matilda McGregor Murray. Spouse, Irene Murray. Cynthia Babcock Palmer. All right, the whole family listed here. Yeah. We'll get to his parents, his wife, Irina Holt. And I actually searched when I hit search because this wasn't coming up. I found a picture of her when she was young. That's her right here. Let me show you. Okay. Look at that. Looks like she's very well dressed. Don't look like a slave to me, honestly, but anyways. Okay. She's a Holt. Yeah, he stole that. It was all made up. I know. So, hold on. Let me, okay. Irene. Okay, that's her. Tennessee death certificate. Freedmen's Bureau. Huh. Rena Holt. Alamasi. Rena Holt. Alamasi. That's her on the Freedmen's Bureau. Gravesite. Spouse Tom Lee. Passed away in Lauderdale. Okay. So, according to, I think it was Later Day Saints records, supposedly. I don't know where I saw that. Let me see. Let's go to the what grave record. Yeah, so see how down here, I'm assuming. Down here it says daughter of Hillian and parentheses. Born 1815. That's all we got for her, like literally, guys. But okay, we gotta read all the stories, right? We gotta read all the stories. Right. Let me see. Okay. You guys know the fake story, right? Okay. So in the fake story, with possibly some truths in there, he just exaggerated and created a whole African ethnicity. But I mean, honestly, guys, I didn't really. Okay, listen. Let me see. Other family members. I know I saw somewhere. Okay, yeah. This is what was coming up for his dad as potential dad. Let me zoom in. It was actually this name, Indy Janek, right? Indy Janek Hillian Holt. I don't know where they got this from, guys. I was looking, I searched for this under Holt, I searched for Hillian Holt. I Googled all that stuff. I'm like looking. This is before I went live, right? I can't find anything, right? And I also thought, I know I saw it written that they got the dad from LSD Records, Later Day Saints. That sounds like Quaker stuff to me, honestly. And Holt, I think is, let me see, if I'm not mistaken. So we got, okay, well, it's English, Irish, Scottish. I was going to say German, but okay. Holt. You see where it's. I got an old picture of her. Hold on. So look, people have Indian Alien Holt. I just can't find it. That's the picture I'm gonna show you guys. Okay, so I hit search under her, you see. So that's supposed to be her gravesite. I think I got these images. I'm just trying to find records though. All right, so see, that's the lead, that's not her. Okay. I just want you to see I searched, trust me, I searched. But and I know that's her as a young, because I saw that picture and I said that looks just like her. I'm gonna show you. Here she is with Thomas Murray. You see? Looks just like her at young. Okay, here it is. So it says daughter of Helium, born 1815, LDS record. Later Day Saints record. I don't know what record they're looking at, but somebody saw it, I guess. And I was thinking maybe it was cursive because a lot of these records are in cursive. Maybe his name is William. Maybe he's actually William. William Holt. That's another possibility. All right. I'm being very detailed with you guys of what I be thinking and doing, the whole background of, oh, what happened? Hold on. Okay. But, I went with Hillian Holt. There's not really much. I couldn't really find a Hillian Holt when I hit search. Right? See, a lot of people have Indy Janek. Indian? What does that mean? Indian? What's that mean? I don't know. I don't want to jump to conclusions either, but now, right? They gave me potential parents for Helium Holt. Now they're saying Jesse Holt is the dad. Now all of a sudden, and see what they're giving us? They're giving us these weird looking people. And this guy was born 1783. Camera was just barely coming out when he died in 1844. It had come out it had invented in like 1839, and it didn't get mass produced for everybody to use till after he died. I'm telling you guys, not everybody had a camera, and then this dude looks like he's still young in this picture. So I don't even think that's them anyways, but I mean, okay, what I'm saying is the picture. I'm not saying the guy. Maybe the guy is the parent, but who there's no proof. Nobody has no records. Nobody even knows who's Hillian. Show me Hillian. Show me something for Hillian first. Who's Hillian? You know what I'm saying? Look, Helen White Holt, no. John H. Holt. Hillian H. Holt. Look at that. Return. But this is from 1872 to 1880. That's not his time frame, I don't think. And it says he passed away. Well, we don't know when he passed away. Maybe that is him. Okay. So, again, it's kind of inconclusive to me, guys. I want to see that LDS record. That LDS record should say more about Hillian too. And then, so the other families had Hillian and Ellen Holt from Alamansi. Not really much. I do want to show you guys this real quick, right? I found this book. Like, this is what I'm saying. I just Googled, I think I Googled Holt family in North Carolina or something like that. And I found this book. Let me just show you. And don't always assume like these books, you know, just got like so-called white folks in them. This could be your family members. So I found Alamansi, right? That's where they're living too, Alamansi. Literally, guys, look. I'm not kidding. Alamansi, right? Alamansi County, right? Alamansi. The whole family in industrialization in a North Carolina county. Literally talking about these same people. Check what I found inside real quick, right? So we got Thomas Murray right here. It says Emily Holt, whoever that is, may have been more eager to have the new home reflect her husband's financial success than he was. She took charge of much of the decorating, even drawing up sketches for decorative window grills. She had been impressed by the work of Tom Murray. Tom Murray, a skilled blacksmith, enslaved nearby. Enslaved, huh? When did they write this? They wrote this in 1999, right? That's how he's called. He's saying enslaved. He could have been an indentured servant. He could have been related. Why am I saying he could have been related? Who did Tom Murray marry, guys? Who did Tom Murray marry, right? Look. He was a blacksmith, supposedly enslaved or probably indentured. And then it says, and hired him, right? Hired. I thought slaves, what do you mean hired? This is what I'm saying. If he's a slave, make it make sense. If he's a slave, you ain't hiring him. You ain't paying him to do the work, right? He's a blacksmith. That's why you hiring him, because he's a blacksmith. While working for the Holts, listen, Tom began courting Rennie. That's Rennie, guys. One of their slaves. This says one of their slaves. Really? How about one of their daughters? See, this is what I'm saying, guys. Rennie, right? Rennie Holt, right? Supposed to be one of their slaves, but she's a Holt. She's a Holt. She's a Holt herself, guys. This is what I'm saying. These slave narratives, you got to take them with a grain of salt. You got to really try to search the background and context. You got to try to make sense of this stuff. Some people had different status than others in their family, guys. Some people just hired neighbors or people in the town, close families, allied families that are around. They hired their kids to work, indentured, right? But Thomas was a blacksmith. There we go. That's him right there. There was another picture of him, right? I just wanted to show you this one. I don't know if I added the other one. Okay, you see? I think I remembered because of the wide nose that when I think I hit search. Let me see. And some picture came up. All right, there goes Tom. Public member stories. Oh yeah, I think I added a couple of this. So that's him and Irene, and that's definitely her as a young picture that I have because I found her. So let me see these public member stories. Sometimes they have the little lies and stuff. The added extra stuff. All right. Or they don't have much. Okay, so it says, look, George Lee married Matilda Murray. So her and George Leah end up having a son by the name of Tom, which George and his wife Matilda named after George Leah's white slave master. White slave master father Not after her slave master, but after her father, his father. Okay. Thomas, come on, listen, guys, listen, guys. I know a lot of you get all salty, take it all personal. Okay, who in their right mind, right? Who in their right mind would name their kid after their slave owner? After their so-called white slave owner, right? That supposedly raped their mom. I'm trying to knock some sense into you, some logic. I'm trying to like, it happened, Kurimeo. Well, maybe it happens sometimes. Maybe trauma caused people to do stuff like that, or he was forced to. Who knows? But now I'm conjecturing. Now we're just conjecturing, and we've been living under conjecture this whole time, growing up, guessing, assuming, conjecturing. It's time to get to the facts. What's more logical? Why am I saying that, right? So let's go to, now I found this picture and colorized it, right? I'm gonna show you the original. We're talking about Chicken George. Supposedly, he got so good at the cockfighting thing that he got, right? You know the story, guys. You know the movie and all that. Come on, guys. Listen, that's supposed to be him. So this is what I found, and this is what I fixed up and colorized, right? Why did I colorize? Because I just want to make sure of something. Like, I just want to be logical with you again. I want to be logical with you again. Hold on. So we can get the whole picture. Okay. We'll just use this one. Here we go. That's the whole picture, right? Final resting place of Chicken George, right? I want you guys, before anybody homework right now, go ahead and find me the tomb of Kunta Kinte. The final resting spot at Kunta Kinte, his dad. I want you guys to, no, it's not his dad. Sorry, my fault. Let me not mix you guys up. He married, supposedly. His mom is supposed to be the daughter. All right, hold up. Either way. Now, guys, this guy right here, let me put the music down. This guy right here is supposed to be half white, half African, okay? Or 1/4 African. Listen to me. Be honest with you guys. I know a lot of, I asked my wife and she's just like, maybe, if that was her grandfather, she wouldn't be saying that. She wouldn't be saying, yeah, he could pass as white. No, he could probably half. She gave me a bad example and everything. I was like, forget it. Now, you guys, please let me know if I'm just like, does this guy look like he's half white to you? Be real. Like, don't like. I know who his mom was. That's supposed, Kizzy. Supposedly, there's no real records of a person named that. But yeah, we got the story. I got her. I got Kizzy. Don't worry. Like, we're still trying to confirm a lot of this stuff. But he's a real person. I'm showing you a real person right here, guys. And I'm asking you a question. Is this person half white? Is this a half white person? Like, automatically, would you think that right away? Would you, even if he is, would you assume that? I'm asking you about Chicken George. This is the real Chicken George. All right. um, I don't know. I don't know. To honestly, I wouldn't think that if I see this guy, like I wouldn't say yeah, he's half white. I wouldn't say that right away. You guys, because the story told you he was. You guys trying to. Yeah, I know he could be. What I'm trying to say is, does he really look at first glance like there's people that really look at first glance like they could be mixed, assuming if you based on stereotypes, right? It's all good. It's all good, guys. It's all good. That's the reaction. Don't know is better not to answer. His hair looks white to me. I don't know about the red. I don't know what you guys are seeing, but anyways, what I'm trying to say is he was a name like listen, this is his parents. Thomas Lee Sr., right? It's supposed to be Kissy Waller. Kissy Waller, right? It's all good, guys. We're not just gonna go off looks. It's all good. Don't worry about it. I want to show you this. I found a George Leah though. So if we're gonna assume, let's assume based on the stuff I'm finding, I found a George Leah in Caswell, North Carolina, right? Free white. Free white. How many George Leahs are there in Caswell County? 1880. Lauderdale Black, widower, Virginia. The mom is, look, it says dad, North Carolina, mom, Virginia. Not much to conclude, parents, honestly, guys, like, but it's mostly oral. A lot of oral and stuff. But I do have this 1840 census of a George Leah in Caswell, North Carolina, who had property, was free, being listed as free white. Free white, okay? Going up to his supposed dad, Thomas Lee Sr., Caswell County, right? 1820, same kind of census, just like the one I just showed you, Thomas Leah. Free white, same one, Caswell, just like the other George Leah. Guy got slaves, supposedly. What kind? Indentured? You know, these census don't mean literal stuff, guys. So he's the one that supposedly raped. You know, this is, the whole, if it did happen, I can't prove it did, I can't prove it didn't, right? But I just want to show you what I found. Here's a land grant for Thomas Leah, issued 1782. You see that? Let me see. Here's like a letter. State of North Carolina. So this is the land grant he's getting, right? He's getting land grants, the Leahs. North Carolina. Hold on. Sally Leah, spouse. So I did find him married to a Sally or Sarah. So I'm like, maybe Kissy's real name is Sarah. Because I didn't really find anything with him and Kissy, but, Here supposedly has in the probate, has a slave named Artka. Not Kissy. Marriage record. That's where it's Sally again. I hit search. Hey, Jaybird, she wasn't. That's what I'm trying to tell you. She's a Holt. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. They always say that they're family. These people are probably related, guys. So Thomas Leah more on his probably land grant. Thomas Leah, that's a whole different Jarnigan. The Jarnigan is a different one. Yeah, that's a whole different Thomas Leah. I had to verify. You see, these purple ones I clicked on. All right. So because these supposed to be historical people, like they, you know, comes up, you know, I don't get really a dad. His mom is coming up as Elizabeth Betsy Slade. I mean, I can add that and see what, let me see. She has a page here. Let's see. No, these are, listen, Jaybird, listen, I'm showing you his family members. I'm not saying, I'm not showing you, I'm not going to show you the fake ones. I'm showing you his family members. I'm just saying there's a whole other story to it. Okay? I'm not there yet. Like, there's a whole other story to it. We're not talking about Kunta Kinte. That's made up. Kunta literally is made up. Kunta's literally made up, guys. Come on, man. I'm trying to be able to see what it says here on this image. Okay, it won't let me. Let me see. John Slack was born 17. Okay, Slade. Okay, it's a document on the Slades. Well, she died in Caswell County, so maybe that is his mom. All right, so I just want you guys to see. I just added that because it came up as a potential mom, but I don't know if that's the Leah's mom. That's where it ends with Thomas Leah. We don't know much about the supposed slave master. I think in the book, I don't know if the book mentions who his dad is. Not sure, or the Leah's, but I bet you if I do what I did earlier. So Leah, family history, Caswell, North Carolina, maybe. So the Leah family of Caswell. Okay, so again, I didn't have to do this, but I'm doing this so you guys can see sometimes how I take it further. So Perla Clay Office state, I am a granddaughter of James Leah, son of Zechariah Leah, and Sabrina Clay, son of Luke. Okay. Let's say James Leah, according to tradition, emigrated from England and settled first in King and Queen County, Virginia, and then moved about 1750 to North Carolina in what is now known as Caswell and Pearson County. Okay, that's how they got there. That's how that last name got there, guys. So he's probably going to go back to these people. And most likely, this is Alex Haley's ancestors. Whether you want to say it was through rape or consent or whatever, it was his blood. And it's conjecture to say all these people were so-called white people. You gotta prove all that to me. You know, just because people post fake images when camera wasn't even invented doesn't mean that's them. Okay? So he located about 2 miles west of Leesburg, a village subsequently established a name for the family. My sister Frances is quite a genealogist, where she at home now actually right. Okay, well, you guys see, they kind of got the Leahs coming from England, and most likely this James Leah is a descendant of Thomas. And look, 1784, James got there in 1750. Most likely it might even be his dad. It might even be his dad or his granddad. Might be his dad or his granddad, okay? Now on the Kissy side, right? She's supposed to be the slave that got raped. She's supposed to be the daughter of Kunta Kinte. She kept coming up with Waller. She kept coming up with Waller everywhere, right? She kept coming up with Waller. So this is supposed to be the grave, right? Let me go. I just want to show you guys something, right? When I click on her grave, let me see what happened. This is, yeah, see? Look, when I click on her grave, look, this memorial has been removed. Where is it? Where's her grave? Kissy, huh? Kinte. Does it really say Kinte? This is what I'm trying to tell you guys. It's this big of a conspiracy. It's that big. Like, what you mean? All of a sudden, you remove this one. And watch which other one is removed. I'll show you which other one. What a coincidence. In the same family. Right? So then we got this one. Global Final Grave Index as an index. Mother Bell Waller. So she's a Waller. Right? Bell Waller. I mean, that's what keeps coming up. View record, right? Look, I'm gonna try to go to the record. Oh, here we go. Kissy Quinte Waller Leah. Look, Kunta Kinte dad, right? That's supposed to be his grave, right? Let me show you. That's not a grave, that's a plaque. That's not a grave, that's a plaque. Alex talking about his family heritage. That says nothing about no Kunta Kinte on this plaque. I read it. That's not his Kunta Kinte's grave. Look, Gambia, North, they're making all this up. Whoever died in 1822 had a different name. Whether his name was Toby Waller, it would be Tobias Waller, right? It would be Tobias Waller, who they're calling, right? They're saying George, right? Children, George. This is what I'm trying to tell you guys. They got this all messed up here. Look, they got George. That's his grandson. This is all messed up. All right. Okay. I just want to be clear. I just want to be clear with you guys and show you what's up here. All right. Look what keeps coming up. Sally. Look, Sally and Thomas. Those are who got married. That's who he married. Maybe Kissy is Sally. Maybe Kissy is a nickname. I didn't add this yet, but it seems he had a wife named Sally or Sarah. Right? That's what's coming up. Okay? So when it comes to her parents, I didn't add Kunta Kinte. Of course not. All I had was, look, when you guys search for Kunta Kinte, I'm not even kidding. Like, watch. Kunta Kinte ancestry. Toby Waller. Okay. Look. Waller. Right? Toby. What if his name was Toby Waller? What if it really was Tobias Waller? Toby is short for Tobias. Toby is short for Tobias, guys. That's what they got everywhere. Kunta Toby Kinte, huh? Toby Waller, look. Toby Waller, huh? What's the drop? What's the real drop? Waller, huh? Waller. Germans. So in the area of North Carolina, there was a lot of Scott, Irish, and Germans. These people were coming at the same time. Benjamin Franklin is saying to stop bringing in so-called black Germans. Too many black Germans are coming in. That's what he's saying, clearly. Benjamin Franklin at this same time. Possibly some of these so-called slaves are not just Indians, but black Europeans that they're trying to make African, guys. Tobias Waller might have been an indentured servant. Tobias Waller, right? I can't find no Tobias Waller. I can't get no info. I can't find none on Kunta Kinte. That's a fake story. Look at the parents they were giving Kunta Kinte. They were even giving Kunta Kinte parents. Based on the fake novel. Guys, listen. These are fake parents, right? They were given based on the fake novel that he copied from the fictional book, right? That we just went over. Ignore. Okay. And now on her mom's side, some more weird stuff, right? So she's supposed to be Belle Adams Waller. Maybe she's Adams. Look at the potential parents. Martin Ramos Ortiz. It don't make sense to me. Kind June. Then there's like nothing on these people. Like I hit search. There's like possibly, you never know. These could be Portuguese Sephardic Jews, you know, in this, but you know, nothing's making sense. This is all made up, guys. Right? And then on the whole side, you guys saw why I haven't gone up that way. Right? And that's his whole genealogy, guys. That's literally his whole. What Africans do you really see, guys? What Africans do you really see? What Africans do you really see? I hit search on the Bell Waller. I didn't find that. Like, I'm trying to tell you. Oh, I wanted to show you this. I wanted to show you that. Actually, I'm going to show you it. I'm going to show you this, actually. Oh, look at that. I forgot. Let me show you this. And I want to read this article for the dismount. It's a pretty good article, okay? Before we go. I'm going to hit search again under Bell Adams Waller. Okay? I'm going to show you this. Check this out. This is attached to her. I want to read this to you, right? This is attached to her. Listen. But by the time of his death, all Haley had left was his reputation, already damaged by accusations of plagiarism, which would soon buckle under sustained assault. The next year, Village Voice reporter Philip Noble would publish a detailed attack on Roots. Noble alleged persuasively that Haley had made up altered important details. All right, so we got that already, right? Says the slave known as Toby was likely not the same person as Kunta Kinte, listen, who probably never existed as Haley wrote him. There's no concrete evidence that Quinta's daughter Kissy ever existed either. Listen, and the biography Haley gave of his great-great-grandfather, the enslaved Gamecock trainer Chicken George, contradicted basic historical facts. Noble proclaimed Roots the modern era's most successful literary hoax. All right, we already got this earlier. That's what's attached to her. A lot of people know, guys. All right. They try to make her African too. They try to make her an African thing too. Like, I don't know where they, and you saw the parents that are coming up, right? And guys, I literally went through his whole genealogy with you. Other than things we can probably pursue to see who they really are and verify things like his parents. Hey, if that's Hillian, who's Hillian? We want to find Hillian, make sure they're not just adding stuff, right? But that's his family, Alex Murray Haley. Okay. Now for the dismount, guys, we're going to get into this article. All right. It's from the National Geological Society Quarterly. All right. The National Genealogical Society Quarterly. Okay. And it's called the Genealogist's Assessment of Alex Haley. So don't worry, I got the article right here. The Genealogist's Assessment of Alex Haley's Roots. See, you saw that other website try to hate. They were like, nope, you got to pay. You see that? They blocking. Now you got to pay. Now I got to pay. So let's read this by Elizabeth Shawn Mills. And you see her credentials, Gary B. Mills, okay? The American bicentennial celebration spawned hundreds of new family histories, thousands of bumper stickers, and millions of label buttons, but nothing had the tremendous impact upon the psyche of America as did Alex Haley's novel, Roots, the saga of an American family. You see, nothing had so much impact like this did, guys. This really had a messed up impact. When Haley cried, "My God, I found you, Kunta Kinte, I found you," he made him up, guys. He tugged the heartstrings of the uprooted peoples of America, and cheers arose from all cultures in which ancestors are revered. As is true with any work of such import, it was also challenged. A public schism resulted between those who accepted Roots and those who were disappointed by its flaws. As Hamlet might have expressed the issue, to believe or not to believe, that is the question. For those who are sincerely interested in the field of genealogy, all right, pay attention. This is a good article, because this is how I feel too. If you're really interested in the field of genealogy, the question goes much deeper. At stake is the future of genealogy as a legitimate scholarly pursuit. At stake is the whole body of standards, the academic code of ethics. All right, there's a code of ethics to this too, guys. You can't just be making stuff up and guessing, which is at last developing in genealogy. At stake is the right of genealogists to use any and all of the best archives of America and receive the same degree of respect and the same degree of assistance that the scholar of history routinely receives. All right, guys, this is from like the 80s. Yeah, 1984, okay? Look what it says, Alex Haley fraud. 1984, they wrote this. Like, yo, come on, you got to take this more serious. Among archivists and professional historians alike, genealogists have suffered a reputation for academic mediocrity, for a naive acceptance of anything told them or anything that appears in print, a reputation for shallow research, amateurish methodology, right, and poor standards. This general charge is no longer just. Countless genealogists are now doing superb work, all right? We're trying to do this the right way now. They have fought an uphill battle for several decades to introduce rigid standards into the study of genealogy and to convince the millions of genealogical newcomers of the crucial importance of these standards. Then came Roots. And then came Roots. Listen. Damn. A book advertised as an authentic family history, as the ultimate expression of the Black experience in America. Despite the caveats of some leading Black historians, this saga has been hailed as the epitome of genealogical success, and even though serious questions were raised about the validity of Haley's African and American episodes, Roots has been adopted within public schools and universities as a tool for the teaching of Southern and Black history. Wow. A fake story, guys. You see? Are you guys, I hope you guys are paying attention to me right now. I hope everybody watching is like waking up. Like, wake up, guys. Wake out of that, break out of that spell. This is so public now. Like, this is so common knowledge now. Whoever denies this is just ignorance and you just, you know, cognitive dissonance, right? Yeah, we got this. He got sued. We showed that earlier. Red line, you know, so, you know, we know, like, so basically, you see how this is being used as a tool in the school systems and everything as Black history. And it has been used as a banner by avant-garde historians who claim to find more reality in oral tradition than in documentary evidence. It has also been accepted unquestionably by legions of neophyte Black genealogists, naive as all genealogists initially are, who believe Roots should be the model for their own work. Can you believe that? Yeah. All right, guys, hold on. Gotta put a different kind of music. Because we ain't vibing. We're trying to break the spell. It says that then came Roots, right? And it messed it all up. The question of Roots' validity as a Black family history is an important one to genealogists of all races. Although some Americans have been conditioned, you've been conditioned to superimpose racial divisions upon almost all aspects of life. Now everything's about crayon colored black, white, this, black, you black, I'm white, you black, you Latino, you Mongol, you this and that. They got us, they condition us to do that, guys. We got to stop being like that. In every aspect of life, we do this. Such academic distinctions cannot exist in the science of genealogy. No ethnic group has monopoly upon oral tradition or documentation. Literacy or illiteracy, mobility or stability. Among all peoples, each individual and family is unique. Yet certain characteristics are basic to humanity and can be found in every ethnic group. It is true at the same time that certain procedures in the pursuit of Black genealogy do differ from those in the pursuit of English genealogy, that the pursuit of ancestral research among white Creoles of Louisiana is different from that among the Pilgrims of Massachusetts. That research in Virginia differs from research in Tennessee. That research on Black families in Alabama differs from that on Black families in New York. All right, he's making a good point. Listen, guys, this is like real stuff. This is what I be trying to tell you. All kinfolk ain't kinfolk, and just because you Black doesn't mean you have the same story as all so-called Black folks in America or even USA, North America. That's what he's telling you. You got to go into it individually. Geographical and cultural differences do exist, but they coexist with the basic similarities of all mankind. If genealogy is to be accepted as a legitimate field of study, of the same value to society as geography or diplomatic history, it must be governed by a set of standards, one set of standards that must apply to everyone. Moreover, every genealogist worthy of the name must be able to discern good genealogy. You must be able to discern through these bad records, guys, through all the false info that people add. You got to be able to discern. That's a good genealogist. From poor genealogy, that's what distinguishes you from poor genealogy. And no one can accept mediocrity without significantly damaging the progress that the science of genealogy has made. Every family historian needs to possess the ability to critically appraise the work that others have done to learn from the strengths of others and to profit from their mistakes. A critical analysis of Alex Haley's roots provides to all genealogists an unparalleled opportunity to debate the application of standards, the effectiveness of various methodologies, the crucial importance of interpretation, and the limits of literary license. A half dozen years ago, I was in the same position as many university professors of Southern and Black history. The appearance of roots breathed fresh student interest into the humanities. A generation of youth who equated history with a boring litany of dates, wars, and elections suddenly realized that history was real. Alex Haley had proven to them that it could be as exciting as anything the television networks ever produced from sheer imagination. Students of Black history and Southern history wanted to study roots rather than Frank Owsley's The Mind of the South or John Hope Franklin's The Free Negro in North Carolina. Wow, you guys hear that? They'd rather read a fictional book when Alex Haley's movie came out. They'd rather go study and research a fake story, read the roots of fictional book, plagiarized from a fictional book, right? Than the free Negro of North Carolina, the free Negro, not the slaves from Africa, the free Negro, the free Negro. No, yeah, remember what we found in these books, guys. I've shown them. How many Indians are in that so-called free Negro? As I began to contemplate the best way to legitimately incorporate this novel into a university-level study of history, as I compared Haley's depiction of slave society with the concepts I have drawn from my own research and writing, as I reviewed the reams of press literature that were generated, and as I discussed the issue with my colleagues, there existed one element that troubled me more than any other. Certainly, historical inaccuracies existed in roots, all right? No one's work is entirely free from error, but even the extent and the magnitude of the obvious problems found within roots were not as disturbing as a fundamental deficiency that I noted among academic historians and genealogists. All right, he's going at all of them, or she. Professor Oscar Hanlon of Harvard best expressed this problem, although he used the word anthropologist instead of genealogist. And his commentary, the historians say, well, the anthropology must be correct. And the anthropologists say, well, the history must be correct. But if you add them together, there are a lot of interesting elements which raise the question of how a book like this can be successful. How could this book, Roots, right? How did it fool everybody, man? The crux of the problem was that no one had considered these elements together. Both the supporters and the detractors of Roots on the academic level were scholars of either history or genealogy. They weren't even experts in history or genealogy, listen, or anthropology. Each recognized the problems within his own realm of expertise, but did not realize the extent of the problems overall. There did not exist a cadre of scholars in Black history who were qualified to judge good genealogical work, nor did there exist a body of genealogical experts with solid training in Black history. Okay? As I particularly discussed this deficiency with my wife and colleague, Elizabeth Stone Mills, who had been working with Southern Black genealogy for many years, it became increasingly obvious to me that I could not conscientiously teach as history such a controversial novel without first resolving the interdisciplinary conflicts that existed, man. Good for you, man. See, that's a good scholar right there. He's like, nah, I'm not gonna go with the whole, I'm not gonna ride the bandwagon like everybody else. We also realized that we were in a unique position. While each of us individually faced the same handicaps as other historians and genealogists, we did have, in combination, the requisite background to make an interdisciplinary analysis of roots as a tool for the teaching of history and genealogy. The task was to consume years rather than the weeks or months that we anticipated, and it proved to be only half a dual analysis that eventually appeared. Our work stopped at the water's edge. We backtracked through Tennessee, North Carolina, and Virginia. The Afro-American ancestry presented in Roots, as well as that of the masters who allegedly Look how they put in it. Allegedly own Haley's progenitors. Our findings, which exceeded the most dire projections we might have made, were published in the Virginia Magazine of History and Biography. You can go find it there, guys, as the lead article in volume 89 from January 1981. Go ahead and find it. Meanwhile, separate work was being done on Haley's Gambian Chronicle, the Gambian story, the fake African story, by Professor Donald R. Wright. He was investigating that, of the State University of New York. Cortland, a specialist in African prehistory, right? The guy who created the fictional book that Haley plagiarized, right? That's Cortland. That's who they're talking about. He's a specialist in African prehistory, supposedly, with extensive experience in the collection of Gambian oral traditions. In the course of one of his field trips to the Senegambia a decade ago, Wright, in fact, had interviewed the same Jafure elder, Fofana, who had spun for Haley the tale of Kunta Kinte's origin. Guys, do you remember? That's the guy who they're trying to add as his dad. That was the guy who told the story. That was not even supposed to be the dad. That's supposed to be the guy who told the story to Alex Haley, not Kunta Kinte's dad. You see, they added fake names on the Ancestry website. Oh man. So he's the one who had spun the story. Hey, he paid him really good of Kunta Kinte's origins. Dr. Wright's analysis of Haley's African experience appeared in the professional journal History of Africa. All right, he wrote his opinion on it, which he debunked. In the same year that Elizabeth's and my article appeared, the following genealogical assessment of roots draws principally from these two studies, although time limitations preclude any possibility of presenting a complete discussion of our findings or those of Wright. Don't worry, I'm doing that for you. And I already got, this is my third video on Alex Haley. Don't worry about it, we got this. We got this, guys. Oral history versus documentation. Now he's gonna point out some things that I think are legit. These are legit things to consider, guys. I'm gonna explain too. The issue of oral history versus documentation is the essence of almost all problems which Haley encountered in his genealogical efforts, and it will in the same manner determine the ultimate success or failure of the work of any would-be genealogist. Family tradition is invaluable as a beginning point in the research process. It holds the clues to ancestral identities, to the places and time frames in which those ancestors might be found, and to the special circumstances in which they may have been involved. Utilized in this manner, tradition is a powerful tool, but it can also be the proverbial millstone around one's neck if one exalts tradition to a state of sacredness that it does not possess. Meaning, if you're only going off oral, because a lot of these oral traditions, guys, that our elders are carrying have been a little bit distorted. They have skipped a generation. They're forgetting a certain name. They're adding the African falsehood that they were told. Haley wrote eloquently of his personal despair as his work failed to bear fruit. As he made one Atlantic crossing, trying to envision the emotions of his legendary Kinte, the same thought occurred to Haley that came to some captive slaves in the Middle Passage who contemplated their hopeless situation, that of plummeting himself into the ocean. All right, dodge the hijack. Yet Haley's chains were self-made. All right, yet he created that. He made those chains. He made it all up. He had bound himself to the burden of proving an oral tradition, every holy word of it. His crusade was destined for failure because it was based on a fiction. Because we have already exposed the false West Africa slave trade to America and the out of Africa theories. There is no such thing as the gospel according to Aunt Lizzie. All right. I know everybody got that famous auntie that knows everything in the family, and she Kurimeo, but my aunt said that we were slaves and that she came and she was raped. Right? I was like, all right, let's see if we find that in the genealogy. And then we do the genealogy and we find something totally different, right? This is exactly what he's saying. I didn't write this. There's no such thing as the gospel according to Aunt Lizzie. Any genealogist who successfully traces a family lineage accepts this fact. Anybody who actually successfully is able to help people trace their real family understands what we're talking about. That's what I just meant. Generations are omitted with extreme frequency. Generations are omitted with extreme frequency, and oral begats of family, as it appears to have happened in Haley's case. Anecdotes undergo metamorphosis, often to the point that they change substance entirely. Such transformations are to be expected. Age and memories develop wrinkles just as people do. Handed down stories like heirloom silver take on a patina of their own. A lot of our oral traditions have been distorted, guys. Khalif Sabali says, why not challenge the validity of the reality of experience, I say? Why not, sir? Man, go babble somewhere else, okay? You just lost your opportunity to babble in my chat. I don't know what you're talking about, what this has to do with what we're talking about specifically when we're talking about Alex Haley's true genealogy and his fake book, his fictional book of roots is fake. Period. Go do a video about that, Khalif Sabali. Go ahead and do your own video. Go do your own channel about whatever thoughts you have, random thoughts you have in your head. Thank you. Don't come interrupt like that. To question on Lizzie, to insist upon documenting each detail, is not to question her integrity or to impugn her dignity, as Haley has expressed it. Indeed, the issue of questioning the word of another is an intrinsic one to Root's problem, to Root's success, and to the course of genealogy as well. Haley developed such an attachment to his old aunt's story that he could accept no documentary evidence that deviated from it. The integrity of his family tradition was not to be questioned. When Haley succeeded in convincing himself that documentary evidence was invalid and that the family's sketchy tradition was all the documentation needed, he announced to the world that he had traced his roots, and most of the world accepted his pronouncement. To do otherwise would have been to question his integrity. Genealogists for centuries have adhered to this same tenet. They have accepted everything handed down to them, everything they read, everything any other genealogist told them, without documentation, because to do otherwise would be to question the other person's integrity. Oh no, we can't question Mr. Haley. He must be telling the truth about his family. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, Kurimeo, how could you? Genealogical scholarship has now advanced past this point, okay? We ain't on that anymore, right? We're 2025. The most significant achievements made in the field of genealogy and the acceptance of genealogy as a worthwhile subject of study has come about because genealogists have recognized the absolute necessity of documenting every fact, regardless of who or what is source. Haley himself recognized the need for documentation. Indeed, he made countless declarations that his work was extensively documented. You see, so he claimed that it was extensively documented, but he never showed that. And as you guys saw his tree, that's what he has. That's literally what he had if he actually did it. If he actually did it. Nothing that proves anything about no Africans, or any African slave ships, or any Gambia, anything like that, guys. All right. Haley himself, okay, so he didn't have it. He made countless declarations that his work was extensively documented until it was proven otherwise. Until we debunked that. And this is in 1980, right? And nobody paid attention. They wrote this in 1984. Nobody paid attention. Now people want to pay attention, right? Unfortunately, since that time, his advice to fledgling black genealogists has been, slaves were sold and shifted much like livestock, okay? So records were sporadic, all right? You're not gonna find any. This is his words, right? Nor did records reflect things like children born from unions between white masters and black women. See, he's talking about crayon colors. Fake history. So to expect these records to provide an accurate account is pure naivete. When it comes to black genealogy, he calls it black genealogy, crayon color genealogy. Well-kept oral history is without question the best source. Oral history, that's it. We get from slaves and that's it. Grandma said we come from slaves. My auntie said we come from slaves. You guys get what they're trying to point out, right? He He was literally like the Chazars. Oh, it's because we say so, and that's it. We the chosen because we say so. I'm African and I'm from Gambia because I say so, and that's it. And yet they have DNA testing outlawed in the state of Chazars, right? The state of Chazars. The experienced historian and genealogist can only interpret this statement as a cop-out. That's what he's doing. He's copping out, sugarcoating that he doesn't have no documentation, an attempt to excuse inadequate research, an inference that double standards in scholarship should exist because of past wrongs. In truth, records of slaves were sporadic, but the same handicap is faced by genealogists of all races, even with the ancestors, even with the so-called Europeans, whose ancestors were in that advanced guard of the ever-moving frontier. Like I just said. Contrary to Haley's assertion, countless records do exist to document white paternity of children or European, right, born to slave women, and white maternity of part black children. You know, that's the hijack. You know what they mean. Haley's ultimate pronouncement that well-kept oral history, whatever that is the best source, cannot be accepted by any knowledgeable, successful student of family history. And if the practitioners of the field permit someone so misinformed, listen, so misinformed to stand as spokesman for the science of genealogy, then irreparable harm will be done to the next generation of genealogists. And the progress that this generation has made in raising the standards of genealogical scholarship will be eroded, okay? If you believe that, if you let him think that's real, yo, that's everything's gonna fall. Everything we're doing is just, it doesn't matter then. Right? You believe in a fake story. The validity of tradition as pure reflection of historical truth knows neither racial nor geographical bounds. In the past, genealogists who placed great emphasis upon documentation of American lineages often relaxed their standard when they went abroad. Some have felt that they are closer to the truth, while others assert that greater care has been taken in older countries to protect the quality of oral accounts. Such genealogists are naive. The crossing of an ocean to Africa or to Europe is not a holy rite of passage beyond which oral accounts are sanctified. In Europe, there is not heard of American expression, to lie like a dog. There it is said, to lie like a genealogist. The immortal heroes of mere men have been traits basic to all peoples of the world. The undiscriminating genealogist will, like Haley, fall victim to scams in some cases and to his own ineptitude in others. The search for the Gambian roots, right? The search for the Gambian roots. Hold on, I gotta put a whole other song for this. Hold on, I think we got it. Says the search for Gambian roots, having failed through the use of American resources to document the origin and the transportation of this legendary Kinti, there is no proof from the American side. He's saying Haley went to Africa. So he went to Africa, right? Although he was aware that he would have to rely upon oral tradition, his methodology violated the basic rules of obtaining oral information. After a scholar of African linguistics suggested to him the geographic area from which his handed down words and phrases apparently came, Haley appeared at the doors of that region's officials, told them the story he had learned at his old aunt's knee, and then they went out into the countryside to question the griots, the official oral historians of the villages. Predictably, one village entrepreneur listened to Haley's story, recognized the potential of the opportunity, and replied in essence, "Ah, but yes, of course, I remember that story. Oh, but yes, of course, I remember that." You see, they were playing him. Showed no inclination to recite the long, oh, sorry. Unfortunately for Haley and for the credibility of Roots, Fofana the griot was not a griot. Listen, he wasn't even a griot who he told Haley he was. He was pretending to be somebody he wasn't to Haley. Listen. And he made up a story to Haley. Listen, pay attention, guys. He had failed to meet community standards for that important post, and in all his years, he had not earned the respect of his village. When Professor Wright interviewed Fofana, shortly after Haley, the Yufude elder, showed no inclination to recite long or short genealogies of any families. He was eager, however, to speak of the Kunta Kinte episode, to the extent that in the entire interview, Kunta Kinte was the only individual about whom Fofana provided any specific information. So you see, he was a gatekeeper. He was being paid. Anytime anybody brought up anything about family, history, or anything, he brought up Kunta Kinte. Why? That's the only ancestor you guys know. He was told to do that. Yet I recorded nothing of the kind of information that Haley received. Before the interview was over, two inhabitants of Jufude, who had been listening to the questions and answers, began responding because they believed they knew some things better than Fofana. They later yielded his position. On a second trip to Jufude, Professor Wright did not ask to speak to Fofana by name. Instead, he asked to speak to the person best versed in the history of the village. All right, that's a good methodology to do. Like, all right, let's bypass the gatekeeper. He's trying to bypass the gatekeeper to actually go to the people to see if they're all saying this, right? So he went to the village and his families. According to Wright, I was taken to speak to 4 other people. Fofana's name never came up. All right, Fofana never came up. He's not even wanted in that village, guys. Listen. Even more disturbing doubts over the reliability of Haley's self-styled griot emerged when it became known that representatives of the Gambian National Archives had visited Fofana and taped his oral account of the Kinte genealogy, something Haley did not do. According to reporter Mark Ottaway of the London Times, who compared that tape with Haley's published account, there were numerous genealogical contradictions in the two versions. So even in the fake story that he supposedly received from the African guy he met, that was not even who he was supposed to be. He was just some random dude that nobody respected. Even their stories didn't match. He added even more fakeness to what this African dude was telling him when he wrote Roots and plagiarized it from the African, from Cortlander, right? On the archives tape, Fofana identifies Quinta's father as Lamin, and Roots Quinta's father is Omoro. See? On the archives tape, Quinta's father was the first in his family in the village of Jufure, and Roots, Quinta's grandfather, was the first Quinta in the village. On the archives tape, Quinta's brother were Usula, Suwandi, and Omar. Within Roots, they are Lamin, Suwadu, and Madi. All right? Nothing's matching. Nothing's matching. The credibility of Haley's African begats has been totally destroyed. All right? Count that story out. Count that source out. Right? That's fake. But for the genealogical world, the implications are broader. Was Haley's experience a fluke created by his naivety in telling first a story that he hoped to be told? If so, the researcher with more sophisticated methodology should be able to locate an authentic griot. Or is it even possible to find an oral historian who can provide the type of African family history which Haley asks us to believe? Bakari Sibide of the Gambian Archives allegedly wrote Haley in 1973 to warn him that he had been duped, and in that letter he stated to get a long, detailed, and sustained narrative from a village elder is rare. Professor Wright, who has interviewed some 100 Gambian griots and elders, states, listen, this other guy interviewed real griots and elders, 100 of them or more. From what is what he's saying? He states, from often disappointing experience, I learned that oral traditions of the Lower Gambian simply do not contain specific information about real people living before the 19th century. Remember? And what do we know? We know this because remember where these people originally from. Remember, they can't really prove their origin, that they say they're from there from millions of years, thousands of years when they came from Asia. Remember? A lot of these people coming from Asia, Arabs. Yeah, Arabia, Saudi Arabia, India. Remember, guys. So listen how deep this lie gets. I'm breaking this down for you. All right, I'm reading this for you. I hope you enjoy it. In a historical rather than genealogical sense, the significance of Haley's saga goes far beyond the validity of his alleged begats. Haley insists that the historical essence of his work is valid, and that Jufure narrative is an expression of the Black experience in Africa. Both reporter Ottaway and Professor Willie Lee Rose of the Johns Hopkins University immediately challenged Haley, reminding him that Jufuri was not the Bokulik pastoral village in which white men never set foot. All right, he made that up. although the villagers had heard fearful rumors of Tobub slayers. All right, listen, he made up that they had slave raids there. They don't have that history there. Guys, listen, this local African people don't even have the history of them being raided by white men. Indeed, Jofuri was a white trading village. 2 white military posts were within a mile of it, and the villagers were collaborators in the slave trade, helping whites capture slaves from points upriver. Yeah, for what though? Where are these slaves going? They're not going to the Americas. Rose and Ottaway's challenge brought an admission from Haley that he had taken literary license. He conceded, in fact, that he had purposefully fictionalized his description of Jofure because blacks long have needed a hypothetical eating like whites have. You guys hear that? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Body bag for the illusion, bro. Oh my god. Yo, shout out to Drop. I can't believe he said that, guys. The nerve of Haley. Listen to what he said. He said, I made it up when they caught him lying about this town, right? He said, he conceded. Listen, this is from the National Genealogical Society. This is a scholarly thing. They're not making this up, guys. They probably got the source for this. They do. Look, 13. They got the source for this. He said, guys, pay attention, that he had purposefully fictionalized his description of Jofure. Purposely. Man, more people should be watching this video, man. Instead, they like gossip. Instead, people rather watch gossip. Gossip and cute puppies. People debating. Because, hey, whites had a fake eating, so why don't we have a fake eating, so-called whites? You guys, come on, man. The years since this has been Haley's customary response to criticism. Challenges to the authenticity of his saga are taken as public denial or racial oppression, and of the special needs of the oppressed. After the appearance of the articles by Ottaway and Rose, for example, Haley retorted that the reporter had made a cheap shot. It's like saying that Anne Frank never existed, or that the whole Nazi thing was a hoax. Uh-oh. Well, whoa, man, hold up, guys. Wow. Okay. Okay. Hey, I just had to have a quick snack, guys. I was a little hungry. I'm good. I'm good now. Got a little water. Okay. So it's like saying the Chasers thing is a whole hoax. Well, we'll get to Anne. We'll get to Anne in her book. Maybe she's not a fictional character, but maybe the book is a little something like Roots. The book is literally, it's crazy how he compared it because he's not too far from the truth a little bit there. We shall get to that, but we ain't trying to get the video taken down, right? So basically what he's saying is you couldn't criticize Haley because it was like when you criticize somebody, a Chazar, then you're an anti-Semitic, right? So because if you criticize Haley, now you're a racist, right? Or you're just, that's what he's trying to say. In 1979, article, right? Roots, author, again, rebuted criticism by stating, what really upset me most was that also my implication, it clearly sought to impugn the dignity of Black Americans, African heritage. However, the Black journalists and historians who appear among Haley's critics take a different view. Film critic Eugenia Collier has written, I think that I would give almost anything I own to know who my African ancestors were. That's the hijack. And here's a man who had the oral tradition, the financial resources, the contacts, and the determination to find out this very thing, and who blew it, right? He had everything to prove it. This is deep right here, guys. Pay attention. If anybody could have proven the whole out of Africa's, African slave thing, it would have been Alex Haley. If anybody could have proven he had the resources, family, tradition, all that, right? But he failed. He blew it. He blew it. Yeah, he was protected by the industry, of course. I believe that Haley sold out. Listen, I believe that Haley sold out. It's not me saying it, man. Capitalize on his Negro-ness. His Negro-ness, why? You saw his dad's side, right? You guys saw his dad's side, right? His Negro-ness. I doubt that he was ever committed to much beyond his own ego. Otherwise, he would never have permitted such a travesty on his or our history. All genealogists must agree with Mr. Collier's further statement. History is sacred. If we lose our history, we lose ourselves. The genealogist cannot afford to tamper with historical truth, to whitewash his own people, to whitewash his own people. Yo, that's so deep. Oh my gosh. I didn't know this article was so deep, guys. I'm reading it for the first time with you. That's why I said, let me just go live. I knew it was going to be a good article. You cannot tamper with historical truth to whitewash your own people, guys. This goes for all of you guys listening out there. You may think you're exempt from this. I'm talking to you too. Stop trying to whitewash your own people. Stop trying to think these are all slave names. Stop trying to think that all these Europeans that you have in you are so-called white. Even some of the Indians, stop thinking they're so-called white. To idealize their role in society. He cannot in his writings distort that society to fit whatever purpose he hopes his literary license will achieve. Too often such distortions are incorporated into the text of conventional history, as Fofana's tale on Kunta Kinte has now been incorporated into African oral accounts. You see? A fake story, now it's part of oral history. Almost all genealogists can cite similar examples in America, in which a fabrication has been repeated so often that it is believed to be true. And this goes in almost all families. You know what I'm talking about, guys. All you who know, who have done their genealogy, who have searched through their history, you find out a lot of the stories are distorted. Any such attempt to distort history ultimately obscures one's own heritage. And it can do so to such a point that one never finds the ancestors whom he seeks. Wow. Guys, it's almost like if I wrote this, like if I went back in time and I wrote this. Obviously, one whom seeks, I don't talk like that, but I've said this to you so many times. You're adding fake ancestors or you're neglecting certain lines, you're never going to find the ancestors whom you really seek. That's deep right here. For these, as well as other reasons, Haley did not find his roots in Africa. But what of America? This is the question that Elizabeth will address in the next half of this paper. In his 1977 Reader's Digest article, My Search for Roots, Alex Haley asserted, through plantation records, wills, census records, I documented bits here, shreds there. That's what he told people, right? But we just saw all his genealogy. None of that says anything about Africa or from Gambia or nothing like that, right? By 1967, I felt I had the 7 generations of the US side documented. In actuality, the same plantation records, wills, censuses, legal conveyances, and other record categories touted by Haley not only failed to document his story, Like I just said, none of those records show anything about Africa, guys. Just like almost all black folks' genealogy, nothing be saying African. They contradict every statement of Afro-American lineage. All right. In fact, genealogy contradicts that whole false African story prior to the Civil War that appears in Roots, right? And isn't Roots the base for all stories, so-called Pan-Africans and black folks who believe that? But when you do genealogy, again, it contradicts all that. While the fictionalized format in which Roots is presented provides his readers with almost no evidence of sources of methodology, Haley's various writings have outlined some of his thought progressions and research procedures, and they have spotlighted a number of problems that are still far more common to genealogy than one might hope, principally illogical reasoning, inadequate historical background, right? Illogical reasoning based on African slave narratives, right? And white European slave masters. Inadequate historical background. He doesn't know real history. Insufficient research. He didn't even do the research. Or inadequate use of records consulted. He don't know how to discern the info. The warping of documented facts to fit a specific need. Now he's pushing an agenda. Careless note-taking. Import to non-existent documentation. There is no documentation. He lied about everything. Bridging the Ocean Roots approach to solving the classic identity problem. All right. According to Haley's family tradition, his African ancestor, Kinte alias Tobias Waller, was brought to America through the port of Annapolis. Of course, tradition does not supply the year. All right. That's something nobody has ever proven. Right. I saw what they try to say that. And I tried to look for that. And I didn't find no Tobias coming in and a lot. I didn't find none of that. Right. Of course, tradition does not supply the year. And port records do not identify by name the forced immigrants from Africa, as they sometimes do with forced immigrants from Europe. What Africans? Because there is none. Show me. However, it is Haley's contention that Kinte arrived in Annapolis in 1767 aboard the Lord Ligonier, and he based this decision upon two factors. First, Fofana's account of Kinte's capture held that it occurred the year the King's soldiers came to the Gambia. Second, at Lloyd's of London, supposedly, Haley found ship rolls lying unopened in long abandoned cartons, which revealed that one Colonel O'Hare brought a troop of soldiers to the Gambia in 1767, the same year that a ship sailed from Gambia laden with slaves bound for the port of Annapolis. All right. Now, guys, this is a whole other story that we're going to get into eventually. Trust me, believe me, give me the time, because it's something I got to debunk or something I got to prove, but I got to show context. Missing context, guys. All right. I know exactly what they're talking about. Roots had scarcely rolled off but there's nobody either way proving anybody named Tobias Waller came, and that ship came into Annapolis, ended up in North Carolina as a slave to the Wallers. None of that is real. He's trying to find the closest ship he can attach his story to. Reporter Ardaway further pointed out that Haley's misdated the arrival of Colonel O'Hara, not O'Hare's forces, and that they did not arrive the same year that the Ligonier sailed, you see? Moreover, the first group of King's soldiers, in parentheses, actually arrived in Gambia in 1661. Wow, he was 100 years off, guys. 106 years before the group of King's soldiers, which Haley fixed upon. You see how off he was? According to Ardaway, when I asked Haley why out of all these King soldiers, he should have selected those under O'Hara, he said it was because his researches in America had indicated that his ancestors must have been shipped to Annapolis, Maryland before 1768. The only ship he could trace which had made the voyage from Gambia to Annapolis during the 1760s had done so in 1767. In other words, Haley simply found an African event. Like I just said, he just found the closest ship that he can relate to, right? He simply found an African event to fit his American research. On the other hand, the evidence also suggests the opposite, that Haley's earliest American research has based upon his predetermination that the 1767 ship was the one which carried his ancestor in its hold. According to Haley, I went to Richmond, Virginia. I poured through microfilm legal deeds filled within Spotsylvania County, Virginia, after September 1767, when the Lord Ligonier had landed. In time, I found a lengthy deed dated September 5th, 1768, in which John Waller and his wife Anne transferred to William Waller land and goods, including 240 acres of farmland, and then on the second page, and also one Negro slave named Toby. All right, he made that up, guys. Listen, where is this documentation? He literally made all this up. So he's trying to connect, he's trying to say John Whaler, he's trying to literally say, so what, how did you connect John Whaler purchase of a Negro or whatever to the Ligonier land? And like, they're in different states. This is what I'm saying, guys. Wow. My God, in parentheses, Haley's claimed at that point, and every genealogist knows the ecstasy of such a movement when one first finds in print the name of a long-sought ancestor. However, the competent genealogist does not fall into the long snare of embracing it as his own any man of record who happens to bear a name identical to the one he seeks, until he gathers all possible evidence, and unless the preponderance of that evidence weighs in favor of this being one and the same man. At this point, Haley again failed in the identification of his African ancestor. According to the tradition, he sought to prove Quinte, alias Toby, belonged to one John Waller, from whom he escaped. So he escaped, huh? In punishment, a portion of his foot was cut off. Listen to what they're going to say, I think. The document which Haley found does not show one Toby in the possession of John Waller. So they actually went to go look for the document, guys. And you see, there was no Toby in there. However, if Haley had not arbitrarily chosen the date 1767 for Toby's arrival, or if he had even tested the accuracy of this theory by searching pre-1767 records, he would have discovered that this Waller slave Toby appeared in at least 6 documents prior to the arrival of the Ligonier. You see, Toby was already there before the Ligonier came from Africa, supposedly, right? All right, body bag with the illusion. All right, shout out to Drop. All right, that's it, period. Debunked. This came out in 1984, guys. They got sources for this. These are real people questioning his story. They went and verified, and they found out it was all a lie. Are you guys there? Are you guys listening? Are you guys enjoying this? I mean, we could end the video right now. You guys, should we keep going? All right. So Toby, if he was a slave of the Wallers, he could still be family, right? He could be an Indian. He could be from Germany. He could be so many things. He was there before that ship had arrived at Annapolis. And I don't understand how they're relating these people anyways, because these people are North Carolina. This is Maryland, Annapolis, right? Maryland. So clearly, if Quinte was captured in 1667, he was not the Waller slave. When interviewed by a New York Times reporter on his reaction to Haley's saga, one noted Yale professor dismissed allegations of such errors and roots as unimportant. Oh, see, that's a gatekeeper right there. That's his boy. Roots, he said, was a statement of someone's search for identity. It would seem to me to retain a good deal of impact, no matter how many mistakes the man has made. In any genealogy, there are bound to be a number of mistakes. However, among competent genealogists, such lacks of expectations from our science are no longer acceptable. Errors in identity matter a great deal from a genealogical standpoint. That's true, and a single error of identity can invalidate an entire lineage. You can't just sugarcoat and say, "Well, we all make mistakes, but the African thing is real. It did happen." Oh, no, that's not real either. So now you got to really prove everything. In the case of Haley's roots, there are a number of such genealogical errors, each of such magnitude that even alone it could not be overlooked. The cumulative effect is damning. For example, according to Roots, Toby remained celibate for 22 years after his arrival in America. In short, a whole generation, Dr. Waller favored Toby over some 24 or more slaves that he owned. Listen, this is what I'm trying to tell you. I think they're about to tell you the truth right here. When a so-called slave is favored by the master, usually that's family. That's his offspring. He's trying to hook up. Dr. Waller favored Toby over some 2 dozen or more slaves that he owned, and Toby was chosen to drive the doctor as he made his rounds of the county. So there's actual records of this Toby, guys. In 1789, Toby married Belle, the cook for the Waller's mansion house, all right? She was just a cook. And in 1790, Belle bore a daughter, Kissy, who grew to maturity on Dr. Waller's main plantation. Okay? Historical evidence reveals a far different story. Oh, so this is what had said. My fault. This is what Haley had said, right? My fault, guys. I just read the fake story in Roots. That was the fake story in Roots, right? So there is no real like documents of somebody being driven and being chosen and all that. All right, all right. That was from the story. My fault. I don't remember the Roots movie. It's been since I was a little kid. I haven't watched it ever since. I don't want to. Anyways, now he's gonna break down the real truth or what you can find. It says historical evidence reveals a far different story. Tax rolls clearly show that William Waller owned no mansion house for Belle to cook in. He owned no buggy for Toby to drive. Listen, these are regular folks. He owned no plantation in this period and no slaves. All right? This is what I'm trying to tell you guys. This is what I'm trying to explain to you. What slaves? You see how it just ends? What? Waller, Kissy? What who's her dad? Toby, right? Toby. Who's his dad? Who's these people's parents? Like, where they get them from? Where's all the proof? There was no indication that he practiced medicine at all past 1770, which was a more 3 years after Quinta supposedly arrived. What the evidence does suggest is that Dr. Waller was ill and incapable of caring for himself, much less for others, when his father's estate was settled, 4 years before the arrival of the Ligonier. Dr. Waller deeded his entire inheritance to his brother John, who in turn was to provide him with clothes, food, and all other necessities. The brother John then proceeded to squander the estate. Listen, this is what they lost. He lost the estate. In 1768, in the document found by Haley, Dr. Waller took back from John all that remained of his inheritance, 240 acres, and a black male named Toby. There is no further record of this slave, Toby, and in 1770, Waller sold the last of his land. Twice in the years that followed, he executed agreements with relatives promising to give them the inheritance he would one day receive from his mother. And again, in these instances, the conveyances appear to have been made in exchange for their caring for him as his derelict brother had first promised. It is clearly proven that Waller owned no slaves in 1789. So the guy that he was saying was the slave owner never had slaves when Toby allegedly married Belle, nor in 1790 when Kissy supposedly was born, nor in 1806 when Waller is accused of selling Kissy away from her parents. You see? Made up stories, guys. Not only do these facts destroy the entire substance of nearly 200 pages of Haley's alleged family history, the whole Waller plantation episode, but it also calls into question the very parentage of Kissy. You see? Who's her real parents? Is Toby even real? Because that's a made-up story. Like, given the fact that Waller at no time owned a slave named either Belle or Kissy, you see? And given the fact that Kissy was allegedly born 22 years after Toby's last known existence, you see? This is what I've been trying to tell you guys. It is impossible to accept the assertion that Toby was Kissy's father. Okay? 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 So there we go. Now I want to correct myself. I want to correct myself now. Check it out. If there is a Kissy Waller, that's not her dad. This guy died before she was born. Whoever Toby is might not even be related to Kissy. All right. We got Bella's the mom. We're correcting all this stuff, right? It is impossible to accept the assertion that Toby was Kizzy's father. Toby, who's supposed to be Kunte Kinte. All right, guys. For the dismount, we got the last part of this. You guys enjoying it, man? You know, I wasn't really gonna stay this long, but we're doing it, all right? I'm gonna do it for you guys, okay? Get into the roots of faction. Example, the transformation of genealogical fact into sealable fiction. If, however, one assumes that Haley neglected to use the tax rolls and therefore did not discover that Dr. Waller was propertyless for nearly all of his adult life, one still cannot justify certain deliberate distortions of the evidence which Haley did uncover. According to Roots, in 1787, Waller's brother John fathered a daughter called Missy. Listen, Missy Ann, who became Kissy's childhood playmate and who eventually betrayed the faith of her black friend. So this is according to Haley's Roots, right? 3 years later, allegedly, Dr. Waller drafted a will in which he left his slaves to little Missy Ann on condition that he did not marry first. County records do yield such a document. Although it was not a will, it was a deed of gift. It's a gift. By the terms of this document, Dr. Waller promised to his niece Ann, daughter of John, 3 slaves he expected to receive when his mother died. However, if Dr. Waller were to marry before his death, then the deed of gift to Ann would be voided. One astounding discrepancy exists between the document and Haley's version. It was actually drafted 22 years earlier. You see? It was drafted 22 years earlier than the date of Haley gave. You see? He made it all up, guys. Wow. By the time that little Missy Ann, in parentheses, was allegedly born, her father had been dead 11 years. Wow. By the time that Kizzy was born, Miss Ann Waller had a husband and children of her own. Under such circumstances, there can be no conclusion but that Haley deliberately altered the documented facts. He deliberately altered the documented facts, as he did in the case of the village of Jufuri, just like the book Roots said he plagiarized from the African, right? In order to create a better story and more dramatically stage the stereotyped and fictionalized injustice that he wanted to depict, all right? Body bag with the illusion. Shout out to Drop, yo. All right, guys, I don't know if this ain't enough. Man, guys, so many years I'm going at this. I'm like, when will people start waking up? When will people find this research important? There is yet another major problem with Roots, which hinges upon a date, a problem that again calls paternity into question. According to Roots, on the first Monday of October 1806, Kissy helped her sweetheart escape, right? So this is according, so he's pointing out the fake story, then he's telling you the true stories, right? The following Saturday, a slave trader took her on a 4-day journey to Caswell County, North Carolina, where she was immediately purchased and assaulted by one Tom Leah. You see that? So they're trying to say the rape was a random thing because she happened to be in somewhere else. See, this is what I'm saying, guys. Simple arithmetic and perpetual calendar indicate that the alleged rape occurred 15 October 1806. Yet, it was in the winter of 1806 that Kissy was delivered of her pecan-colored, listen, pecan-colored child, according to Roots. Pecan-colored? According to Roots, this was surely a shortest pregnancy on record. Wow. You guys see? He didn't even calculate the 9 months pregnancy. Right. Wow. Oh my gosh, guys. Like, there's so much. I keep going, but wow. Again, in the case of Tom Leah and his family, as with William Waller, all documents generated by the Lees contradict every alleged fact and event that make up Haley's portrayal of his family's servitude in North Carolina. You guys saw the genealogy. I just showed it to you. What slaves? The character of Tom Leah and his birth family was grossly distorted. It was grossly distorted, as outlined in considerable detail in our article. A similar analysis of the Leah slave household reveals even more disturbing discrepancies. Various documents exist which identify the slaves of Tom Leah by name, age, sex, and relationship. Not one of the characters in Haley's saga was ever owned by Tom Leah, okay? All right, he did have indentured servants or employees in his farm, but none of them were the ones that Alex Haley said in his book. He made them up. Again, the only possible conclusions are: one, that Haley's research has not revealed the actual names of his ancestors, or two, that his slave progenitors did not belong to the Tom Leah, whom he claims as his own forefather. The Tom Leah estate file completely negates another major incident within Haley's North Carolina saga. A very emotional episode focuses upon Leah's alleged economic disasters of his dispatch of his misbegotten son, Chicken George, to England to satisfy debtors. Listen, that's a made-up story. Upon his heartless sale of George's father during his absence, and of Leah's ultimate refusal to honor the promise of freedom he had made George before sending him away, we are told that George enticed his father into a drunken stupor and stole his freedom papers before going in search of his lost family. This incident allegedly occurred in the 1850s. Aside from the obvious point that Chicken George's presence in England, where slavery was illegal, would have won him an automatic manumission. All right, you guys hear that? Under both English and American law. There remains the fact that Tom Leah died in the winter of 1844 and 1845. All right, I don't know if I have that. Tom Leah. Yeah, 1845. Look, 1845. I had that. What does that mean? That means that that's a made-up story he made up. He said in the 1850s in his root story that his dad had been sold and all this other stuff. He's a liar. Tom Leah had died by 1845. I have that in the genealogy. Even if Haley does descend from Leah, the heart-wrenching episodes just outlined, which covered many pages of his saga, did not occur. Okay? So it's not that he made up his whole genealogy, guys. Like, he used real stuff and added so much fake stuff on top of it. And he knew he would do that on purpose and people wouldn't really verify, because at that time, nobody was really doing this, guys, like this. These people did it to prove something to everybody else, and nobody listened. All right? None of that stuff occurred. None of his dramatic stories in that book. He made it all up. Are you guys hearing me? Everybody there got 100 people only, and everybody else got 400, 500 people because they're debating and doing gossip. Yet again, it appears that Haley's purposefully fictionalized, to use the words he chose for his admission of guilt in Gambia, his entire American saga, from the enslavement of his family to their emancipation at the close of the Civil War. He made it all up, guys. Listen, Haley has called his branch of fiction faction. Fiction into faction. Wow. And he defines this as the presentation of fact in a fictionalized format, the transformation of his grand passion for truth into the passion of dialogue. In truth, it is difficult to find any shreds of fact within Haley's faction. There is no facts in his faction. From a commercial standpoint, Haley's faction has been a success. From a genealogical viewpoint, it is totally irresponsible. Very irresponsible of him, right? He's a gatekeeper. He's an agent. Family historians deal with real people and have a moral obligation to portray their subjects honestly. Literary license does not exist, and it can be applied to works of fiction. But when a genealogist, as Haley has proclaimed himself to be, publishes his roots, he does not have the right to villainize or slander the Tom Lees and the Ann Wallers. He tried to make him the boogeyman. You see what I'm saying? These might be black folks. These might be black folks. Or the John Does who coexisted with his ancestors, the fake people. The chasms that exist between roots and legitimate family history go far deeper than these few problems. A litany of other genealogical and historical discrepancies exist, embracing almost every character within Haley's saga and most of its events. Many, though certainly not all, of these were outlined in our prior article. Professor Rose's work cited other historical facts paused within roots, and they pointed out these anachronisms are petty, only in that they are details. They are too numerous to chip away at the verisimilitude of central matters in which it is important to have full faith. Still, amid Haley's melange of misinformation and misconstructed circumstances, some threads of genealogical evidence are visible. Among these discussed in our articles are two very exciting ones. One, and here they go. A historical connection does exist between the Leah family of North Carolina and the Wallers of Virginia. We found that, guys. We saw that in the genealogy. If Haley had pursued this, some, if not all, of his genealogical problems might have been resolved. Haley attempted to bridge the geographical gap between these two families by inventing a slave trader who took Kizzy from one state to the other. He invented that. They came from Maryland. No, you made that whole up. He came on this ship. No, you made it all up, man. Wow. Apparently, he did not discover or did not recognize the significance in the fact that both Tom Lee's father and his father-in-law were natives of Spotsylvania County, Virginia, right? I told you guys they were from Virginia, not North Carolina. That's what I meant, Virginia. They were always from there, not from Maryland, not from Annapolis, right? Where the Leah and Waller families were neighbors. In fact, the grandparents of Mrs. Tom Leah were the original patentees of the very tract of 240 acres, which Dr. Waller and his brother John later conveyed to each other, together with the slave named Toby. However, if the legendary Kissy was taken to North Carolina by the Leah families at the time they removed from Spotsylvania, then Kissy was at least a generation older than that which Haley shows. This may explain the apparent gap between the alleged birth date of Kissy and the last known record of her alleged father. Number two, they're going to point out the stuff they realize, right? Documents do exist showing that the Wallers owned a crippled slave. Listen, however, the time period was the decade before the arrival of the Ligonier, so it's not the one he said. And the name of the slave was not Toby. It was George. That might be the dad, guys, because didn't they name Chicken George, right? Where's George getting that name from? Listen, the Wallers did have somebody who actually had something wrong with his foot, like the story of Kunta Kinte being his foot cut off. Listen, but his name was Kunta, his name was not Toby, his name was George, a name that was popular in Haley's ancestral line. See, they're hinting at that. That might be the dad of Kissy. While Kissy's son was supposedly called Chicken George, she might have named George, right? Chicken George after her dad. This earlier Waller slave was called Hopin. Listen, Hopin or Hoppin George. Hoppin George, a nickname that would be quite appropriate for a slave who had lost half of one foot. It is also important to note that one of the 6 documents found about Toby mentioned any physical infirmity or deformity, although such references were made time again in the Waller records. Moreover, the estate of Colonel William Waller, father of Dr. William, to whom Hopin George belonged, and in Hoppin George belonged, and in whose household Toby appears to have been born, also contained a slave woman, Isabel. There you go, Belle, supposed to be the mom of Kissy, and George, who had a limp, who had no foot, right? Like, these probably her real parents right here, whom Colonel Waller had inherited from his own father, who he got from his own dad, not from a different state, not from Africa, not from a ship. Guys, see, this is what I'm saying. This might still be family. But I think this George might be him. So maybe I would go back and I would add, see, I got Belle, right? We had Belle, so maybe the Isabel is her. It's the wife that got with this George. Who knows? They don't know. But maybe that's the real story. Now, what type of slave and where they from, that's a whole different thing. If they are slaves, you got to have the context behind it. It's our responsibility as genealogists. In short, various names connected to Haley's family tradition do appear together in history, and certain key slave names do appear in the Waller households, but they do not match the personal identities, relationships, and time frames which Haley invented. All right? He invented for them in his attempt to mold real people from the skeletal remains of his family's tradition. All right? The long-range impact of roots upon history and genealogy. In the years that have elapsed since Haley's settlement of the last plagiarism suit he filed against him, right? Ever since he paid people. He literally settled out of court, guys. We just got it right today earlier. The popularity of Roots among scholars and academicians has drastically waned. Eugenia Collier best expressed the disillusionment among her ranks when she wrote, "The suit was settled out of court, with Haley admitting indiscretions on the part of his research assistants." He blamed the assistants, right? What research assistants? Which ones? "I was given the impression that the work was based on Haley's own quest. And how come he was unknown enough to let them get away with copying parts of this white man's work?" That's a good question, right? That's the thing that I was saying earlier. There have been several accounts of how material from other authors of fiction could find its way into Haley's allegedly factual account of his personal quest for roots. Vague references to slips of paper given to him by enthusiastic audiences at his lectures, or to the culling of his material by graduate students who supposedly did not know that sources had to be identified. Such explanations are at once incredible and credible. It is difficult to believe that. Hold on, guys. It is difficult to believe that at any American university there could exist a body of graduate students who are not aware that research has to be documented. However, it is very easy to comprehend how a neophyte genealogist who has not had academic training in historical research or methodology can gather reams of unorganized notes on scattered pieces of paper, all devoid of documentation. One can make an excursion through any genealogical library and still find people enthusiastically scribing notes or xeroxing pages out of publications without making adequate notations of source. The widespread negative publicity which Roots received after the initial burst of public enthusiasm has to be a great extent been good for genealogy. It has made American researchers more cautious, more diligent, and more responsible. The dabblers in genealogy who are more likely to watch Roger Mudd's newscasts than to read Richard Leakey's Cite Your Sources have nonetheless been made cognizant of problems that can result from sloppy note-taking or inadequate documentation. More serious genealogical hobbyists have followed the press mill stories of Haley's long years of research, and they have deduced that the number of years in which one pursues genealogy is far less meaningful than the quality of the work that is done. Yet negative legacies left by Roots still persist. They probably will always persist. Like Miss Collier, we fear that the people to whom Roots could have meant the most will be those who are the most damaged by it, right? Instead of helping you guys, it did more damage to you. The people who are supposed to help you. In a 1972 article in the Genealogical Helper, Haley billed himself as probably the person most knowledgeable about Black genealogy. You guys hear that? The nerve of this guy who made up fake stories. The nerve of this scammer, this fraudulent person. He said he's the best on so-called crayon colored genealogy, Black genealogy. And in the years since, he has, according to his own count, delivered thousands of lectures to college audiences and advised countless numbers who seek their own roots with bad information, bad advice. The fledgling field of Black genealogy, Dr. Hijack, is in need of role models, okay? Where's our role models, huh? Roots billed itself as exactly that, the story of 25 million Black Americans. When Haley asserts that this saga isn't the story of a family, it's the saga of a people, because I have charted the history of every Black American. So now because it's fictional, now don't worry, it's still right, it's still real because we all African slaves, so it's still real. He is believed by the masses who need a figurehead and whom they can take pride, such as Kunta Kinte, instead of steeping fetchings of yesteryear's literature. Okay? However, society has now merely traded stereotypes because stereotypes are the essence of Haley's novel. Failing to find his real past, he fictionalized, drawing from already published works the ideas and the elements that he preferred to believe, yet in perpetuating his own unschooled concept of Black history and encouraging the masses to accept these stereotypes as the ultimate experience of Black America. All right, that's a stereotype. he has negated in the popular mind much of the legitimate and revolutionary research that is being done by the nation's best so-called black historians, all right? I don't call it black history anymore. I just call it history now. As a professional genealogist and a historian living in Deep South and working in the field of black family history, we have noticed in the post-Roots era a distinct shift in the psyche of black genealogical enthusiasts. Among those with whom we come in contact, a search for the origins of one's family surname is guided less often by Herbert Gutman's study of black naming patterns and more often by Haley's generalization that slaves always took the names of their masters. You guys hear this? See? That's where the hijack came in and changed their names every time they were sold. That's hijack. That's a lie. These are not your slave master names, guys. These are your last names. These are your last names. Embrace your last names. The researchers' concepts of slavery mirror Haley's naivety rather than the extensive econometric studies of Robert Fogel and Stanley Ingerman. The black genealogist of today seems also more prone to share Haley's tenacious faith in the sanctity of his family's traditions and less willing to explore clues or accept documents that might question the validity of what he has been told. After all, Mr. Haley's family tradition proved true, every word of it. Why not mine? Librarians and archivists as well have observed an ingrained frustration, a sense of ultimately futility on the part of some black patrons who fear they will not be successful because they cannot afford to go to Africa as Haley did. Yes, roots fill the need that black America has long felt, a yearning for a literary hero with whom it could identify. It is unfortunate that this need was filled under the guise of legitimate family history, right? The extent to which this work of fiction negatively affected or affects our field depends upon all of us, guys. Listen, principally upon the degree to which we adopt and adhere to the standards of research. You got to show me the research, documentation, and publication that are set before us by the National Genealogical Society, the American Society of Genealogists, the Association of Professional Genealogists, and their fellow societies of the same caliber. The issue of standards is the ultimate genealogical issue that Roots has raised, and it is the ultimate issue that confronts the field of genealogy as it seeks to progress past the Roots era. All right. And you guys know that was the dismount right there. I think this was a great article, guys. I really think that was a great investigation they did. And it literally proved the genealogy I just showed you guys. Everything I found. I concur with what they're saying. But they didn't even say anything about anybody being African. They didn't say, oh, blacks are from Africa. You see, some of these genealogists know, and a lot of them know their traditional, the so-called black genealogy. They know their Indian side. They know what their ancestors told them about being Scottish, German, Irish, Indians, all that. So they ain't with that. They're not with that at all. Well, I hope that this video reaches who it needs to reach, adequately. And I just hope it becomes important. All right. But that's the end of today's presentation, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. This was episode 30 of Genealogical Stories, the genealogy of Alex Haley, and the assessment of Alex Haley's roots based on a genealogic perspective. Documents versus fiction. Facts versus fiction, all right? Debunked. All that Africa stuff debunked. Once again, over and over again. Once again, all right? Appreciate you guys being here this long with me for almost 4 hours. Thank you. If you just came in, you got in here late, please watch from the beginning, all right? And then come talk to me about who his ancestors are. I'm done. Appreciate everybody that was here in the live chat. Appreciate all my moderators, all my supporters on Patreon. If you want to support what I do, I got my Patreon page on the description of the video. I also have my channel membership. If you want to support me, if you want to donate anything, thank you. Appreciate you. Much love for that. Much love and respect, everybody. Pura vida, mi gente. Wow. Wow.